Live from a hotel in Princeton, New Jersey. It is Steel City Sunday. I'm John Phillips, racing across the state of Pennsylvania. Got a call this morning, folks, and duty called me to New Jersey. Meanwhile, Bill Akins, live at the North Park Lounge, Richland. Good afternoon, Bill. How are you?
Doing well, John.
It's pretty I hope everybody can hear me. Yeah, I'm sure it is. It is the season, right? 'Tis the season.
Yeah.
Anyhow.
Got a hell of a light display behind me.
Hey, it's showbiz, folks. You know what I mean? We roll with the punches as best we can.
Hate to see that electric bill, I can tell you that much.
It's so funny you talk about an electric bill, for crying out loud. That place would be brutal for sure to come under their gun for what their bill is. A friend of mine owns Pinball PA, which is out in Hopewell Township. Not to give out free plugs here, but he's got arcade games, and I'm just telling you right now, I don't even want to know what his electric bill is like every single month. It's got to be just absolutely brutal. Okay, so we are going to be bringing you live coverage of pregame coverage of Steelers and Dolphins here over the next 3.5-4 hours. We'll get you ready for the contest, which will be nationally televised, a monster game to end the week. That is Week 15 in the National Football League. It's Game 14 for both the Steelers and Dolphins. Steelers 7-6, currently the number 4 seed in the AFC race. The Dolphins are sitting on the outside looking in, but they have won 4 of their last 5, including 4 straight. In that mix, a victory, a solid victory over the Buffalo Bills, who the Steelers lost to at home just a few weeks ago. It would be nice to see the Steelers try to put together 2, 3, 4, 5 wins in a row here to end the season. We'll talk a lot about that over the next 3.5 to 4 hours. We're excited that you can join us for this. Of course, we are going to be bringing in our entire cast and crew as we normally do. Paul Zeiss from the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette should be on board here in just a few moments. Bill, when he gets on, just let me know. We'll drag Paul in. Of course, Todd Haley, who joins us every single week, has been with us for the most of the season. We can't thank Todd enough. Former NFL head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, who are out of the playoffs. Patrick Mahomes, an ACL tear yesterday. I watched a little bit of that game. He scored the game's first touchdown, and then as things dragged on, the Chargers, who were behind for most of that game, were able to catch up in the third quarter, take the lead. Mahomes goes down. He was lost for the remainder of the game and now the remainder of the season, and then the Chiefs were eliminated from postseason contention. So that dynasty has seen a leg chopped off of it. We'll see how that plays out over the next few years, but the Kansas City Chiefs will not be in the postseason tournament. So that's a big story right there. Everybody that was supposed to win yesterday did win, right? Jacksonville retained possession. The Patriots obviously lost in that game. They had a 21-0 lead over the Bills and, of course, ended up losing that contest. Denver won at home against Green Bay. Green Bay slipped from like the number, I think they were either 1 or 2 in the NFC, and now they're down, I think, in the 7th spot in the NFC. So it was a crazy day in the NFL yesterday, but this game, huge implications, because Miami's only path to getting into the postseason is a wild card. They still have a chance, but it's not looking good. And for the Steelers, realistically, they've got to win the division to make the playoffs. I think it's pretty certain at this point in time that whoever does end up winning the AFC North is going to be the only representative in the NFL tournament for the AFC. So lots of storylines are obviously very interesting that we look at in terms of, what's going on in terms of tonight's game. I see Jaylen Warren is questionable right now. We're not sure. He'll be probably a decision within the next 90 minutes or so. We'll keep our eyes peeled online to see exactly what the decision is there with him. We know there's probably not going to be a Derek Harmon playing. We know TJ Watt's definitely not playing. So the Steelers come into this game at a disadvantage defensively and against a team that can run the football certainly very well. They like to run to the outside, certainly. They've got a lot of speed. And their offensive line has played very well, have the Dolphins. But as it is right now, the Steelers 3.5-point favorites. I'm a little strange. Not, I don't want to say strange line. Normally the home team gets 3, but right now they're 3.5. Before we bring Paul Zeiss on, I see he's backstage. Go ahead, Bill. Any thoughts initially before we get in with Paul?
Well, Tua has historically struggled in cold weather. He's 0-5 in record freezing temperatures. So there's a little bit of obviously a home field advantage going to the Steelers from that standpoint. Listen, A-Chain's back. He's back, and you gotta stop him first and foremost. I think I'm a little concerned about that. He gets cooking. It might be a long night for that Steelers defense.
Yeah, well, yeah, definitely a concern, without a doubt. Definitely a concern for anybody that's going to be looking at this game. Can they stop the running attack? I think it's been made perfectly clear when Derek Harmon plays, the rush defense gives up about 100 fewer yards per game, and he's not playing. That's a big problem. Okay, let's get to Paul Zeiss of the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette, longtime columnist and writer for them. Paul jumping in with us this afternoon. How you doing, Paul?
I can't complain. It's cold out, but I'm not cold right now because I'm inside. But it's going to be. I think you've got to be a really big fan to want to sit out there tonight and watch this game unfold for sure.
Now, will you head over to the stadium and watch the game?
Yeah, I'll make my way down there. I'm right now in my office in Monroeville. You never know where I'm going to be, but it's. I'm at my health insurance office in Monroeville. So, I'm a man who wears many hats. And, of course, once I get done with this, I will get in the car, head down to the North Shore, and, head up to the press box and take in what should be a pretty interesting game, I think. I think it's going to be I think it's a game that Dolphins probably do have a chance. I wouldn't have said that 2 or 3 weeks ago, but they do have a chance. So, we'll see how it goes.
Yeah, it should be a wild contest, I think, to say the very least. All right, let's start with the weather, and let's start with the fact that, these teams that are down south, especially Miami, when they come north, they struggle, especially in this single-digit range. Tua last week, I think he played in New York. It was 41 degrees. They won the game handily, but it was the Jets. This is a little bit different. I don't know if you saw the I have to call them tweets still because I don't even know what to call them anymore, even though it's no longer Twitter, it's X. I saw that as soon as Miami landed, they went right over to Robert Morris and they held a night practice in the snow. Did you catch any of that yesterday?
Yeah, I mean, I think they're obviously trying to get used to the weather. It would have helped if they would have done something yesterday. I don't know if they were outside yesterday, but if they had done something yesterday when it was even colder, they had an opportunity maybe to get into the elements. I will say one thing, John, about the elements. The whole thing with Tua, he's 0-5 in games where it's 40 degrees or less. But one thing about what they've done, I mean, if you've watched or you've read about or you've followed at all what's going on with the Dolphins, they have done a really good job of sort of transitioning out of being Tua's team to being a team that is based on running the football. And they run the football well. Obviously, the A-Train, is a guy who is going to be a big part of what they do tonight. But they've done a good job of really sort of minimizing Tua's impact on the game. And that's a good thing. I mean, they basically, if you look at what they've done, they've won 5 of 6. If you look at what they've done in winning 5 of 6, Tua's only averaged about 20 throws a game. It's, they're basically doing everything in their power to make sure that, because he's mistake prone, he throws, he throws interceptions. He just makes some bad plays. You can minimize that if you can run the football the way they do. And so, I do think obviously the elements are going to be a part of it, but probably not quite as much as some people think, just because I feel like what they're going to do is try and do everything in their power to run as much as they can run and make sure that Tua doesn't have that much of an impact on the game.
Paul, you're right about that because, when you look at it, the Dolphins, they've shifted to that run first offense in recent weeks. And I was just looking at stats. In recent weeks, they led the NFL in rushing yards per game since Week 10. So duly noted on your point on that one. So
Yeah,
Yeah,
and they're going to.
no, I was going to say that's what they're trying to do. I mean,
right.
we've got a quarterback who's mistake prone. He's also injury prone. They're doing everything in their power to try and save him from himself, so to speak.
Yep.
I'm just spamming the internet with our links everywhere so people can catch up to us. Okay, so yeah, keep his attempts around 20 to 24, and the Dolphins are doing very well, right? I mean, that's really what it comes down to. It comes down to them being able to possess the football. That means they're running the football, and we've certainly seen how bad the Steelers' run defense is, and we've chronicled it quite a bit all season long, just talking about it here with Derek Harmon. We're 100% certain he's not playing, correct? He's not a game-time decision, is he, Paul?
I thought he was. I thought he might have been game time. I'm
Okay.
not sure. I'm not
Okay.
sure. Let me. I'm pretty sure because we haven't seen the official ins and outs and all that other stuff. But let me see here.
Because I believe that those will come down around 6:30, 6,
Yeah,
6:30.
he practiced on Saturday, so
Okay.
there's a good chance he's going to play today, right?
Yeah, it says he's questionable as of right now. It says
Right.
Yeah. Yep.
So we'll see.
So.
Again,
All
he
right.
practiced on Saturday, so we'll see what happens.
Okay, so obviously the TJ Watt story, a big one through the course of the midweek and into the weekend. Let's get your thoughts on that. I don't know anything about the practice of what may have occurred. Maybe it was somebody from the training staff. Maybe he was hurt when he came in. There was a story that said that he came to the practice facility that particular day, didn't feel well, worked out, felt worse. And then everything unfolded the way it did. What are your thoughts on how this occurred? What are your thoughts on just the overall assessment of where we're at with TJ Watt in this particular saga?
Well, I mean, it sounds to me like, these accident type things happen from time to time. I mean, it sounds like it's similar to what Tyrod Taylor went through. If you remember, he had a similar thing go on. The biggest thing to me is, listening to and reading all these doctors and what they've had to say about it. It's how long is he going to be out? I've seen, it can, you can recover from it pretty quickly. I've seen a number of people say, listen, you've got a hole in your lung that you needed to patch up. It's not going to, happen very quickly. So, I mean, I think that's a legitimate concern. I think, if he's out 4 or 5 weeks, I mean, that's the rest of the season. If he's out a couple of weeks, you can get him back. And then you hope that he's able to play at the level that he can play at. So I think it's more of an accident. I don't worry that much about anything more than that. I think there are some people trying to, read into it. Oh, this is negligence and incompetence and all this stuff. Listen, every so often stuff like that is going to happen from time to time. Not saying it's what you want, but I'm just saying the idea that we're going to, make more of it than we probably should is probably a problem.
Yeah, definitely a problem, and something that happens quite too often in our overreaction society. Of course, with all the social media and as we speak, being live on X, Facebook, and YouTube, you've got time to fill and you've got things to talk about, or you want to manufacture something. You can certainly do that in this day and age. I don't know if it's a great practice or not, but it certainly seems to be used quite a bit. We'll obviously have to wait and see. I think there'll be more this week. Once the game's done, I know Mike will have a presser tomorrow, the day after, normally on a Tuesday, as they are now going to get prepared after this game is done tonight. They'll have to go to Detroit, right? They've got to go play the Lions, and then they finish with Cleveland and on the road, and then Baltimore here. So, home, and then they've got 2 road games, and then, of course, the season finale. Such a critical game tonight, obviously. I mean, they want to keep pace. They want to maintain that essentially 2-game advantage. They want to maintain that 2-game advantage, and somehow along the way here, maybe steal an extra game so that the last week doesn't mean much of anything. But you wanted to speak. Go ahead.
Well, I just say, I mean, again, they just got to keep winning at this point. There's still 4 games left. I mean, we're not at a point yet where I think you make too much or too little of every. They all matter. If they win today, it helps because it probably, if my math is correct, it probably would clinch the tiebreaker in terms of the Steelers' favor. Should there be some weird collaboration where they end up, tied with the Ravens, I think the Steelers have a 2-game edge in the tiebreaker. If they win tonight, I think it'll be pretty much put it to bed. There's some good. To me, you win this game, you beat the Browns, you lose to the Lions, and guess what? I think if my math is correct, you probably at that point can win the division no matter what. I mean, if you beat the Ravens, and that's assuming the Ravens win every game. So to me, I think you're in a situation where you win, you keep winning, and then you worry about it at the end, where everything stands. I think that's where we're at.
And Paul, wouldn't you say the Ravens have a harder schedule? I mean, they're hosting the Patriots this coming Sunday. Then they go to Lambeau, and then obviously they come here to Acrisure. But wouldn't you say that they've got a harder schedule than what the Steelers got?
They do, but I mean, I look at it like this: you got to beat the teams that are ahead of you, no matter what. And to me, if you look at Baltimore, I feel like this: if Baltimore plays well, they should be able to beat these teams. Especially this week. I think I actually like them to beat the Patriots. At Green Bay, well, guess what? There's no Micah Parsons, which I think is a huge advantage. Yeah. So, they play tougher teams than the Steelers. But by the same token, playing up in Cleveland with that defense, who knows? They can make the game ugly and sloppy and ugly. And, it's a rivalry type game. And maybe they turn it into one of these really ugly, nonsensical games that they slop out a 13-10 win over the Steelers or something stupid. You just got to keep playing. I think the Lions, it's interesting to me, but that looks like a team that really, really is sort of lost its way. I think it's lost its edge. I've often had a theory that those kind of coaches like what's his name?
Campbell. Dan
Campbell, they have a shelf life. That rah-rah, let's go. We're all the bravado and, let's hit our chest and tell everyone how great we are. We're going to play aggressive and we're going to go at it and we're going to be all that stuff. At some point, you know what? You better have good schemes and you better know what you're doing. And also you're dealing with grown men. And after a couple of years, that kind of stuff kind of probably gets old. So I'm going to be real interested to see if they can finish the season strong, get into the playoffs, and then maybe next year see if they can get back to being one of the best teams in the NFL.
So I was doing a little research here. So when Tyrod Taylor had that, he had a fully collapsed lung. It said it took him 5 weeks to get back. And from what I understand, TJ only had a partially collapsed lung. So.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's different. Every injury is different. You know what I'm saying? My point is, I don't think anybody knows what it could be and how long it could be. I mean, the bottom line is you have a hole in your lung that they had to fix.
Yeah.
So, you're just going to have to kind of play it by ear, and you hope that maybe he can start running again, and then he can show that, hey, I have the opportunity to be able to take some hits or whatever, To me, honestly, if I was the Steelers, I would tell him this: you're not going to play until the Browns game at the earliest, which would give him, a full 2 weeks to try and recover. And then you hope that by then he's ready. In other words, I wouldn't play him against, especially if you win tonight, I wouldn't play him against the Lions because if you lose the Lions game, it's really not that significant. I mean, maybe it allows the Ravens to tie you or something, but by the same token, if you lose the Lions game, it's an NFC game. I don't think it's 100% that you have to go all out to try and win that game.
No, I agree with you. They don't have to go all out to win next week's game. I mean, it would be nice, certainly. The Lions are reeling right now. Also, I will say that much as I'm going back into my phone here to take a quick peek at the standings in both the AFC and the NFC right now. Lions are on the outside looking in. So they're desperate next week to get a win, to keep pace in the NFC. Even a win next week and say a Packers loss still keeps them out of things. So they've got a lot of work to do with just 3 weeks left. So that's desperation time for the Lions next week for sure, and at home, coming off a few losses. But I don't want to get too far ahead of things right now. We're focused on the Lions, we're focused on the Dolphins right now. Steelers and Dolphins. 8:15 kickoff from Acrisure Stadium. This is Steel City Sunday. We are brought to you in part by Arch Masonry and Restoration, who is still working. If you're a bricklayer, Paul, I know you love to lay brick and block in your spare time and amongst all the other duties you have. But if you were looking for a career in masonry, if you were looking for a job in concrete, Arch is still working around Pittsburgh. They have programs actually for people that have never worked in construction. If you're looking to get into a career, you can get into a career through Arch Masonry because they have programs where they'll teach you on the job and get you into the building trades. 412-564-5733, archmasonryinc.com to learn more. At the North Park Lounge, Richland, and the Hilltop Event Center is Bill Akins. I'm John Phillips on the road. Got a call this morning. On the road I went, got to a hotel, happy to be alongside Paul Zeiss at his office in Monroeville, heading down to the Steelers game. We will be joined by Todd Haley just here in a few minutes. The head coach will be joining us here in just a few moments. We'll talk a little bit about more with him with Steelers and Dolphins. What do you expect out of the run defense? Let's say Harmon plays. Not sure how he'll be. Probably won't be 100%. Let's say he plays. No TJ Watt. Where are we at rushing-wise, do you think? I mean, how do you feel about us slowing them down just a little bit, Paul, today? Because clearly the Dolphins are going to want to run the football. I can't see them coming out throwing the ball, a whole lot in the first quarter. They might try to mix it up. Who knows? But just kind of curious, how do you think the first, maybe say 10 offensive plays for the Dolphins might play out? You think they'll try to –
Yeah, absolutely. They're going to try and pound it, and I would too. So to me, I would tell you, I would absolutely try and pound it if I was the Dolphins, and I think they will too. Because again, John, they've got a quarterback, and it's kind of funny. They've got a quarterback who they know the more that he throws it, the more opportunity he's going to have to make mistakes. I mean, I don't know if you remember Ben Roethlisberger's first 5, 6, 8 years. Maybe even a little bit more than maybe his first, 8, 9 years. There was a stat that basically if he threw the ball more than like 30 times, they lost. Like they were literally I want to say 1 in 15 or something if he had to throw the ball more than 30 times. Now, later in his career, he started winning those games because, obviously he became – but when he was young, I mean, because they found is – the more that he threw, the more he was likely to take bad sacks or throw interceptions or make mistakes. And so, the bottom line is they knew they could control the game by running it. It's very similar here. Now, obviously, Ben is much, much better than Tua, but, I mean, they have that same philosophy. Like the Dolphins say, well, tonight if we have to throw the ball 30 times, we're losing the game, period. They know that. If we only have to throw it 20, we're probably going to win. I mean, It's not that simple. I mean, there's a lot of other factors, but if they're throwing it less, it's because they don't need to throw it. It means they're either tied or ahead. It also means their running game is working, right? To me, I look at it and basically say, hey, you've got a formula or whatever to try and figure out, okay, who's winning and who's losing. I think that's a good gauge. How much is Tua throwing the ball?
Well, who would know something a little bit about that Ben Roethlisberger stuff would be a guy who was his offensive coordinator for a period of time. Let's bring in Todd Haley, former Steelers offensive coordinator, back from his trip in Mexico. How was the Yucatan?
It was tremendous. 85 and sunny. Water was nice. Coming back here to the Northeast, no fun, hard adjustment. kind of what the Dolphins are going to have to go through tonight.
Yeah, no question about it. I remember the early years for Ben, where and I obviously his first two seasons he had Jerome, and then of course the retirement in 2005. And I went back and I looked at this maybe about a decade or so ago when I was working at the Fan. It seemed like early in his career they really were content with him not throwing very much in the second half. He was fairly accurate in those first halves where they would gain leads, and then they would just choke. You would choke teams off in the second half by just running the football. And he was most effective when especially early in his career, when he wasn't throwing the ball 30 times or more. Is that a fair assessment?
Well, yeah. I mean, also, don't lose the fact of how good the defense was. When you got a good defense, you don't have to do a lot. Even if you do have a young budding star at quarterback, just don't lose the game, because the defense it's kind of what we're seeing with the Texans. Now, they opened it up yesterday and Nico Collins went crazy, but that's kind of how they got themselves back into it. Just don't do anything to beat yourself on offense. Punting's okay. And back when Ben got here, the defense was turning into one of the great defenses I think the Steelers have had. I mean, not obviously 76 stature or some of those defenses, but I mean, it became a pretty darn good defense. So I think you have to factor that into it also when you think about these, how much do you want to put on a guy? How many points do you need to score? That's the bottom line. If your defense can't stop anybody, you're going to have to score points some way, somehow.
Yeah, and I think the big thing too is if you can run the ball, and then you can kind of dictate what you're going to do throwing the ball a little bit, but you can also make sure your defense doesn't have to go out there that often. And so even if you have a bad defense, if you have a good running game, you can sort of hide them a little bit, can't you?
Yeah, a good running game protects everybody. I think, looking at that game in Seattle yesterday with old man Rivers showing up after 5 years, I would have been shocked if they played the game any differently. Now the defense allowed them to do that. They kind of shut down Seattle for most of the game. But, I mean, going to Seattle and that noise and playing, I thought they played the game to win. They had the lead with a couple seconds left. Ultimately, they didn't win, but they did everything in this, with the variables they had to win what would have been a huge game for them.
Coach Haley joining us here on Steel City Sunday pregame show. Steelers and Dolphins kicking it off at just around 8:15 p.m. Did you get a chance to see the game last week by any chance, Todd?
Oh yeah, I saw it.
Okay. What'd you think of Aaron? He looked very sharp. They came out real sharp offensively.
I think you, me, and Paul, we sat on here and said you got to force the ball down the field. Whether it's a check with me that you get the perfect coverage. If you don't, you run it. They obviously got single high the first play of the game, and what we see, a huge play down the field to DK. So, they got that guy involved. That's what I've been saying. Find ways to get the ball down the field. Even if it's incompletions, it's still a positive play. And, stat-wise, it's kind of an enigma game. It was kind of a field position game. The one turnover ended up being critical for the Steelers because field position, they got the ball in Baltimore's end. So, stat-wise, you'd think the Ravens should have won, but they didn't. They ran all over the Steelers. I mean, they ran for 200-plus again. And you look at those stats, and you're like, how did they win? Well, they got one really critical turnover, and they kind of won the field position part of it and made enough plays to win. But, not pretty by any means, but to go into Baltimore and get that win, I think, was just huge for them.
No, I'll ask you because you've coached and you've been in these conversations down the line. One of the things that sometimes drives me nuts about coaches, I thought John Harbaugh made a huge mistake. And I want to know your opinion here. So it's 27-22, which you're down 5 with about 2:48, 2:49 left. It's 4th and 5. You have 3 timeouts and a 2-minute warning. Why not kick a field goal there? Especially when you're like the worst team in the red zone and scoring touchdowns. Why not just kick a field goal so when you get the ball back, you can win with a field goal? And you only got to try. You only got to get to about the 40-yard line nowadays. These guys all kick 55, 58 field goals.
Paul, you're preaching to the choir. Analytics is like a rattlesnake that's coiled up and it's shaking its tail. It's telling you it's going to bite you, and you still go and try to pick up the rattlesnake. So. Hey, that's happened a lot in Baltimore. We've seen it this year in Detroit. It's kind of the in thing to bravado, whatever it is. I mean, Nick Sirianni throwing a go on 4th down to give the other team a chance. Points matter. I mean, every point matters. And in December, in these big games, you cannot afford to give away points. Occasionally it might work out and you say, see, we did the right thing, but it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I thought a huge mistake also.
Yeah, just kick the field goal. Then you're down 2, and you got 3 timeouts and a 2-minute warning to get the ball back. You know, it drives me insane, Todd. I can't even take it anymore watching some of these.
I'm a former coach, Paul, and I scream at the TV. My girlfriend's like, "Why are you so upset when a Sunday ends?" And I go, "Because there's so many stupid things that are being done."
Yeah, and I saw the other day, a team went up so they scored to make it 30-23, right? You're up 7, you kick the extra point. Now the other team, you're up 8. And there's idiots on the TV saying, well, they should go for 2 here because if they go for 2 and get it, now they'll be up 9, which is 2 scores. Well, what are you talking about? Go up 8, make the other team go for 2. I don't even know what we're doing anymore.
Analytics is not for smart people like you, Paul, or you, John. Analytics is easy because any Tom, Dick, or Harry sitting there on the couch and they put it across the screen. This is a go for it. They're like, oh, okay, go for it. I mean, they're just it's for there is an ebb and flow of a game. You better have a handle on how the game's going. How's your defense playing? What's the weather? Are you into the wind? Are you with the wind? Does your kicker have any confidence? I mean, you better take into account everything.
Here's another one for you, Todd. This one really makes me crazy. I meant to ask you this last week. You're down 15. You score a touchdown. You're now down 9. Why are these guys going for 2 all the time? Right? This is the Eagles game a couple weeks ago. They're down 9. And there's only there's a little 2.5 minutes left to go in the game. So you got a short window of time here. Why go for 2 and risk missing, forcing yourself to get the ball twice with that short of time span? Why aren't you kicking an extra point and then trying to force a 3 and out with a chance to score and then get a 2 and maybe tie? It drives me crazy.
It's that rattlesnake analytics being created by smart guys that went to Harvard and Yale and all these smart guys that now there's a lot of money in the NFL when there wasn't back in when we all got started. You weren't in it for the money. Now the money's big, so you got a lot of smart people that got a lot of good ideas. Dan Henning, one of my mentors. I believe you guys remember him, the former coach of the Falcons and the Chargers and BC, but, he mentored me with the Jets with Bill Parcells. And that's right about when 2-point plays came back into the league. And he said, you just keep the game alive, kick the extra point. Don't go for 2 on the second to the last possession. And then all of a sudden, the game may be over. Just keep the game alive by taking those points. And that's my point to you, Paul, that points matter, especially this time of year. You can't give away 1 point, 3 points. It doesn't matter.
No, and I think the other thing is, sometimes these guys, they act like possessions are limitless. Like, what I'm saying? Right. Like, with 3 minutes left, you might only get the ball back one more time. So this idea that, at least if you don't make the 2 there, then you know that you need 2 possessions. You might not get it twice. Like, to me, you're right. Keep the game alive as long as you possibly can.
Why I say it's for any Tom, Dick, or Harry is because even if it doesn't go your way, you can stand up at the podium and you can say, analytics said to do this, so that's what we did. There's no accountability anymore to making a decision within a game when you're trying to win. So I'll get off my soapbox.
No, I think it's relevant. I really do. These situations do come up, and yeah, you're right. The money now is as big as it's ever been, and there's a lot more invested into coaching. They spend a lot more money. They want bigger results. But I think you're right. Sometimes common sense has to apply somewhere. When you look at a sheet and you look at, are you looking at the clock? Are you looking at how many timeouts you have left, right? Are you assessing, like you said, all the other details that aren't on that sheet that say go for two here in this situation?
Yeah. You're not playing against a computer. You're playing against human beings and another coach that's making his own decisions. It's the same with some owners that made billions of dollars and bought teams, but they don't really know a ton about football. And the money part to me is a lot of these people in the NFL right now, you know where they'd be? They'd be at IBM. They'd be at General Electric, because they could go make money doing that. And then all of a sudden you're like, wait, I can go make $4 million in the NFL? What? I'm doing it. So now you got a lot of kind of non-football people. Yeah, they might have played a little bit or had some experience, but that's not where their strength was. Their strength was in figuring out how to do calculus or something like that.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's a big part of it too. Some of these owners, they fell into a lot of money and bought a team because it's something that they can talk about at their cocktail parties, but they have no idea really. That's why, to me, I think one of the greatest fallacies ever is that, well, in baseball, if you put a salary cap in, everybody's on even ground, and then there's still bad franchises. There's a salary cap in the NFL, and I can tell you before the season starts, about 5 or 6 teams that have no chance. Not because, and I don't even need to know the personnel. I just tell you, for the most part, unless they back into, an incredible, lucky run of, personnel decisions where they were able to get a couple of players, they have no chance of ever doing anything because they have horrible owners. And I think that's a part of what you're saying. Those guys then talk to people who convince them that they need to have all these analytics guys around and all these smart guys around because, this is how you do it because we're going to be a smart organization. I just think you guys
decided to team up on me today. I will say when I worked for the Browns for a very short time, I'd walk in the morning and I said it was like walking into Google. There was like 79 cubicles. I don't know. I'm like, hey, morning. How you doing? I mean, and what does that mean? That means more voices, more potential for somebody, the important people that are making the decisions to listen to the wrong voice. And the thing I'll always say about the Steelers and the Rooneys, it's always been a skeleton crew. I mean, that building is the fewest assistant coaches. I mean, there's teams with the same thing happens with coaches, Paul. There's some teams with like 29, 30 coaches. So now you got these players and they're listening to 15 different guys and what they think. And it's just keep it bare bones. That Parcells taught me that. I mean, we had the fewest coaches in the NFL everywhere we were. Less voices, less things that can get, that whisper game when everybody starts talking down the line. The less people there are, the more you can get the message clearly out there.
I was going to say, if it makes you feel any better, Moneyball guy, whatever his name is, the guy, that was running the Browns, he's apparently back in baseball now. So,
believe me, I know, Paul. I walked by that office and he had his whole crew and they'd have all these stats up. And I'm like, what are they looking at? He'd try to get the whole staff together on a Thursday in season. And there's not enough time in the week to even get everything straight, let alone have an hour and a half meeting to tell us to throw it between the numbers more or throw it out. I mean, it's just.
Well, yeah, I mean, I get it. We kind of got off track, though. So, Todd, let's get you back. Let's go. That was a fun conversation, but believe me, we want to get you back on track here. I mean, tonight the Steelers played the Dolphins. Dolphins were a team that everyone wanted to fire Mike McDaniel, about 6 weeks ago. It looks like they shifted the emphasis from giving the ball to Tua a lot to, basically handing it off and allowing him to throw in more advantageous situations, and that's why they've won 5 of 6. It's an interesting game, I think, because most people probably a couple of weeks ago thought, it's an easy Steelers win. But you've been a part of games like this that were supposed to be easy, but you're looking at it, and you inside the building are looking at it saying, I don't know if it's going to be as easy as people think.
Yeah, no, I don't, because I think, Miami's now, even though it looked like they were dead in the water, you string 4 games in a row together, all of a sudden everybody's got confidence, and you're doing it in a manner. The defense has kind of come together a little bit, but they're running the football. This A-Chain's really good, A-Chan, however you say it. Now with that being said, it's easy to say, well, the Steelers gave 200 $1 million up to the Bills, and then another 200 to the Ravens, lost 1, won 1. So the easy answer is you got to figure out a way to stop the run. And I think in this case, that's kind of true. I think Tua has not played well in cold temperature type games. Now he hasn't had the run support maybe in the past. So I would think Miami is thinking, they might show some little sparkles at you early, little rounds and motions and all that. But I got to believe, I heard you before I came on, that they're gonna say, we got to run the football at these guys and test them. And at the same time, the Steelers have got to be saying, whatever we have to do, make Tua beat us. He's not a great thrower in the wind, cold, all those things. So if we can shut down the run game, easier said than done, then that's the way the Steelers probably want to see the game go.
How do you think the Steelers have to attack Miami tonight, Todd?
Well, the Steelers are kind of an enigma in themselves. There's just they haven't quite found their identity. The defense was bad. Then they started to look better. Then they couldn't stop the run. The offense was good. Then they looked bad for a little while. Now they bounced back a little bit. I think keep Metcalf in the mix, obviously, depending upon really how bad the weather is. But they gotta find a way to run the football a little bit. When you run the football for 30, 40 yards, not a good thing. So I would think you got to be able to run the football. TJ Watt's not out there. So, the other guys are going to have to pick up the slack. That may be a help in some ways, in that, it'll just be gap control, really disciplined defense. We can't let them beat us running it. If they're going to beat us, make Tua beat us throwing. So, and I think that'll be hard for the Dolphins to do.
All right, before we let you go, Paul, anything for the coach before we got one last question for him?
No, I think you said it well. And the thing about it is, when you look at the matchup, Todd, the matchup that's interesting to me. And you know what? I did want to get your opinion of Tua. He's one of these guys where I want to believe he's a really good player. But then I watch a lot of him, and I just don't know. I mean, obviously, you have a much more trained eye as to what a quarterback is or isn't. I don't know. What are your thoughts on him? I mean, I think there's better guys in the league. Maybe there's worse. I don't know.
Well, I think that's definitely the case. I mean, I'm just not a huge fan of shorter quarterbacks. Especially the later you get in the year. When you got to throw the football in these conditions. There was never a time with Ben, it didn't matter what the conditions were. You always felt okay as a coach. I think with Tua, it's when everything works out exactly the way he thinks it is, and the ball comes out really fast. He's accurate. He's going to throw it to the right place. But if you disrupt that timing at all, and then all of a sudden his first instinct is to start going backwards, those are the things that I worry about with him. His first instinct isn't to step up through the pocket because he's shorter. He can't see. It's kind of like Kyler Murray. Murray's more exaggerated because he's even smaller. But, those short guys don't generally want to step up through the pocket and throw it. What made Drew Brees, who wasn't the tallest, better, or Kurt Warner, was they got back deeper faster than anybody in the league when they took the snap, whether it was under center in the gun, and that gave him more vision, and it gave him an opportunity to step up in the pocket to deliver the football. I just don't see that very often with Tua.
Quick prediction on tonight's game before we let you go, Todd.
I would say Steelers 2013.
There it is, Todd Haley, former head coach of the Kansas City Chiefs, offensive coordinator of the Steelers, Arizona, Cleveland, you name it. He's been there. Thank you, Coach Haley. We appreciate your time every week, sir.
You guys are the best. Paul, good talking to you. John, good work.
All right, we'll see you.
Talk to you guys.
Todd Haley, always kind with his time each and every week. On our show, Steel City Sunday rolling on, we are brought to you by, of course, North Park Lounge, Richland, and the Hilltop Event Center. Bill Akins is there tonight. I had to drive to New Jersey on the fly, managed to get here in time so we can do a show from a hotel room. And, of course, Paul is in Monroeville, about ready to head down to the stadium here. Also brought to you in part by Arch Masonry and Restoration. I should mention Arch because they are still hiring here in Pittsburgh. Brick masons, block masons, concrete finishers, labor help. No experience, no problem. They have programs that can get your career jump-started in the building trades. If you're not in the trades but you do know somebody, let them know to call Arch, 412-564-5733, or visit their website, archmasonryinc.com. Just a couple more minutes with Paul Zeiss before we let him go. Paul, any surprises? Any surprises for tonight? What are you expecting to surprise you? Shutting down the Dolphins' running attack, holding them to like 50 yards, maybe maybe Pat Freiermuth, maybe he'll catch a pass. I'd like to be surprised by that, Paul. How about you?
Surprises.
Can we get a tight end who we're paying top 10 money into the mix at some point?
How about surprises? How about Minkah Fitzpatrick with a pick six?
Oh, there you go.
That would be, that would be one of those things where if he were able to do that, he would talk so much trash, fans would be throwing snowballs at him. Right?
I know that the media in Miami was asking him about the game this week, and he was mum. He was quiet about it all week, so he's laying low in the weeds to do something, maybe a blitz off the corner, maybe hit Aaron, knock him out of the game. Who knows? A pick six, like you mentioned. Yeah, I'm sure he's chomping at the bit to do some damage here. All right, before we let you go ahead.
I will say this. As an old person, I'll be interested to see how he handles the whole thing. Aaron Rodgers. To make sure that the cold weather on his joints and all that stuff. I'll be interested to see if that hurt. Because I know me when I wake up now. Of course, I'm 10 years older than him, but 15 almost. But I know when I wake up and it's cold, my joints hurt, my everything else, my knees hurt, all that other stuff. I feel like it's the same kind of thing, when we talk about it. When we talk about it from a guy like Aaron Rodgers' perspective, it'll be interesting to see if the cold weather has anything to do with him and how old he is.
Danielle Isabella checking in, saying Steelers are going to win 38-13. Not sure where that's coming from. Where's that coming from, Bill? I don't know that D. I don't know that Des. Oh, YouTube. Coming from YouTube. That's a comment from YouTube. Thank you for checking in.
Yeah, it was YouTube.
Okay, fair enough. All right, Paul, prediction on tonight's game before we let you go.
I feel like the Steelers are going to eke one out, but I think it's going to be an ugly. I could absolutely see it being something like 13-10 Steelers or 13-9. How about 13-9 just for all those West Virginia fans? 13-9 Steelers. How about that? Something like that probably is what I see. 13-9.
Any West Virginia players on either of these rosters? I don't even know. I don't think so.
Well, obviously the Steelers center. The Steelers center, Zach Frazier.
Oh, okay, there you go. Thank you very much. All right.
I'm with you, Paul. I think it's going to be low scoring. I mean, you look at it, Miami's, say what you want to say, but they've been pretty impressive defensively lately. I mean, you got to look at who they played, too. I mean, Saints, Jets, Commanders, but, they've held, in these last 4 games, they've held opponents to 17 points or fewer, so.
Right. Right.
All right, Paul, we appreciate your time every single week. Be safe on your travels down on the Parkway East into the city.
Well, we'll do our best. We'll see you, man.
All right. See it. We'll talk with you next week. It'll be a Sunday game. I think it's a 4:25 game, actually. The Steelers next week. I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. But nonetheless, Paul Zeiss joining us. Thanks to Paul. Thanks to Todd Haley. And we are almost an hour into our pregame coverage. We've got hour number 2 staring us in the face. We'll be joined by Anthony Halkias, the lead writer for SteelerNation.com. He'll be talking about his thoughts on the game. He'll be joining us at 5:15 p.m. Consig's Picks this week with Rob Pizzola, professional gambler out of Canada. Rob owns a co-owner of a product called BetStamp. In sports betting these days, being able to track your bets is important, especially if you're a tout, as they say, somebody who likes to sell their plays. BetStamp allows you to track your plays so that people know what you're betting on, how much you're betting on. Rob is the co-owner of that product. He also is co-owner of the Hammer Betting Network. He's out of Canada. I've been following him for a number of years now. Finally was able to catch up with him. He's got a busy schedule. He does podcasts and he's guests on shows like this one. He'll be joining us at 5:45 p.m. this evening for our Consig's Picks segment. We'll talk sports betting. We'll talk about the NFL. We'll get his thoughts on a variety of different subjects. We'll also talk to him about what he likes tonight in the Miami Steelers game. This is Steel City Sunday. Live from the North Park Lounge Richland is Bill Akins. I'm John Phillips. As you can see, I'm holed up in a hotel in Princeton, New Jersey. Duty called this morning, and electricians must be put to work, Bill, and they will be tomorrow at 5:30 a.m.
Hey, is there snow out there, John?
Not as bad as it is out east. It was fairly clear. The whole trip was pretty nice, actually. I've never been to Princeton. Beautiful little area. Obviously, the university is here. Princeton University is here. I've never been in this part of Jersey really before, so it's a central part, and I'm going to have some time tomorrow to spend in central New Jersey. My job's right across the bay from New York City. I may take a pop into the Mad Hatter at some point in time. I might run up to Staten Island, take the ferry over. Who knows? I got a show at 7 o'clock tomorrow, so I got to keep that in mind. Don't forget, folks, we do have a lot of programming here on this channel. Of course, Steel City Sunday. Normally, Steeler pregames, obviously, most of them are Sundays, hence Steel City Sunday. Tonight's Monday night game has us on this evening. But on Mondays and Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock, I do host a show called Pittsburgh Sports Tonight. And it's a new show we debuted last week. We had a really good guest on talking about the Jerry Sandusky, Joe Paterno saga. John Ziegler joined us from Los Angeles. If you have not checked that out on our YouTube channel, go do so, especially if you're a Penn State fan. Again, that whole story was quite, was surreal in 2011 when it all broke. And again, I was working at the Fan. I was very much in tune with what was going on, or at least I thought I was. John Ziegler, a journalist originally from Philadelphia area, went to Georgetown University, no real affiliation with Penn State, decided to dig into that story in 2021, and what he came away with was over 100 hours of interviews that basically debunk everything that took place out there, including Jerry Sandusky being potentially innocent. So go check that out on our YouTube channel at Steel City Sunday. Tuesday, we'll have a show at 7 o'clock. I'll be back here maybe in this hotel room, maybe in another one. I don't know. I could be somewhere else. I'll be in New Jersey, that much I know. And hopefully you'll join me for an hour of sports talk. And then on Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock, we've got the Pittsburgh Sports Desk. Right, we've got that. That's Bill Aiken's show on Thursday. He's got the Gridiron Weekly show. There's the Pittsburgh Sports Desk. That's on Wednesday nights. So you can check that show out at 8 o'clock right here on X, Facebook, and YouTube Live. And, look, we're going to try to finish strong here. We appreciate all your support. We're approaching 1,000 views already on all of our social media channels, it looks like right now. So we're off to a great start in this first hour with people just checking us out. Make sure you follow, like, and subscribe. Hit the like button, please. If you're on YouTube right now, do us a favor, like and subscribe. please do so on all the social media sites. But again, we broadcast live on YouTube, X, and Facebook at Steel City Sunday. Content on Instagram and TikTok as well. For whatever reason, TikTok won't allow us to broadcast from our StreamYard platform. I guess that's their problem, not ours. We'll have to figure that out by next year. But we're adding more content. And we can't do this without you folks letting people know about us or sharing our content, retweeting us, all that fun stuff. We appreciate you checking us out and hanging out. We try to bring you professional coverage. We try to have good people. I mean, look at our first hour. Paul Zeiss, Todd Haley, an NFL head coach on our pregame show. This is our 13th episode. We've done 13 of these, barely. So I like where we're heading. And, in 2026, a lot more is being planned, and we will hopefully have some more to talk about that after the first of the year. In the meantime, we're going to bring Bill Akins back in here as we get close to starting hour number 2. He is live at North Park Lounge, Richland. Billy, I'm saying that Harmon's going to play, but he'll be limited, I think, to probably 15, 20 snaps. That's just me. What do you think?
Yeah, from what I heard, more than likely he's going to play. But I think you're right on that. They're going to definitely limit his snaps, and rightfully so. I mean, you don't want to get this guy. You don't want to lose this guy for the season, for crying out loud.
Right.
That's they've got to handle that with kid gloves, I think, with him. But yeah, I'm thinking he's going to play, John. You need him.
They need him desperately.
Yeah. Yes.
If he has to go visit the doctor for a little,
right.
You know what I mean? If he's past the point where it makes no sense, I understand him not playing. But if he can just be 60, 65%, 15, 20 snaps, they're going to need him. All right. And I don't think the Dolphins, if he's in there, I think their plan is to try to run wide anyhow. I don't think it's going to be a good plan. I don't know if the footing is going to be good enough on that turf. That's where, they knocked the Acrisure turf for what it is. And it's beat up. I don't care. Pitt only plays like 6 games on there, 7 games. There's only a handful of high school games. I can't explain to you why the turf is the way it is at Acrisure. Look, we're in the north, right? Yeah. The weather is just not good. Even if you've got by December, if you've got 6, 12, 13, let's say 17 games, that's not a lot over 4 months. But the turf takes it has some damage to it. I know there's talk of, Cleveland's going to get a stadium that is, going to be, a domed, and now Chicago's trying to push for one. I can never see a dome ever being put up here in Pittsburgh. It would be, I think, I'll take the elements any day of the week as an advantage over, the turf issues that you're seeing the team that the team has right now.
I just don't understand. I mean, yeah, we do live in the north. We get it. But, hey, I lived up there for a while. Lambeau is 350 miles more north than where we're at. They don't seem to have the turf issues. You can even look really at Kansas City. Kansas City doesn't seem to have turf issues either. And they, I would say maybe they're a little warmer generally than what we are. But how about Chicago? Soldier Field doesn't have turf issues, and they're cold. So what? I don't know.
I did read somewhere this weekend that the league is trying to have a mandate by 2027, 2028.
Yep, 2028.
Where everybody's got to have a specific type of turf, and that's league approved. And there's only going to be like maybe 1 or 2 options. And I don't even know if natural grass is going to be one of them, to be quite honest with you. It sounds like that's not going to be the case. Derpy checking in via our YouTube channel. He says, gentlemen, I'm excited for tonight. It's going to be interesting what kind of energy the team will bring after the Ravens last week. Hopefully they will be motivated. Derpy, we appreciate you checking in and leaving a comment. You can leave your comments on X. You can leave them on Facebook and on YouTube. We will get to them and certainly bring you into the action as we are rolling along here on our second hour of Steel City Sunday. Go ahead, Bill. Yep.
Well, they should be motivated. I mean, this is playoff implications, right? I mean,
Yep.
right now you currently lead the AFC North, right? But you got to win to maintain the lead. So and hey, on the other side, Dolphins are currently alive in the AFC wildcard race. As crazy as that may sound, 5 weeks ago we were writing this team off. Mike McDaniel's going to be the first coach fired, and they just they kept winning and they kept getting the job done. And I mean, granted, their playoff chances are slim, but they're right in the AFC wildcard race, John.
Yeah, no, they absolutely are. A win tonight, and they still can keep themselves alive. It doesn't look great. I mean, as I look at it right now, as I pull up the standings here on my phone, I mean, I don't know where they would be at in terms of the Ravens. I think they would be behind the Ravens, so they would still be in the 10 spot. They also would still be a game behind the Colts. I'm not sure if they played them in their schedule. I'm trying to look at the Colts schedule right now to see if they had the Dolphins anywhere on it this year, and it does. They opened up the season with a victory against them, so it's a real long shot for Miami. It really, really is. But to their credit, they are playing each game like they are in a playoff chase, and they have worked themselves back into things. Look at the Colts right now. I mean, they're on the outside looking in. I mean, they were the top team in football just 5-6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Right? And then all of a sudden things just turn on a dime for them when they lose Daniel Jones. So it's a struggle bus in the NFL every single week. Meanwhile, you look at the league itself, Denver 12-2. The Patriots loss was a tough one for them. 11 wins. Jacksonville 10-4, right? Things are really starting to click for Trevor Lawrence. Travis Etienne's having a big season, right? These are teams that are poised now for the next 3 to 5 to 7 years potentially to make a serious run at things in the league. And again, not to try to eliminate Kansas City from contention, they're still going to have Patrick Mahomes. By the way, they just got a report out that said his injury not as severe as they thought. Yeah. So his recovery time won't be as bad, but he's still going to miss the rest of the season, and they're already eliminated. Kansas City, if they can reload on a couple different positions, it could easily be back in the thick of things. And we haven't even talked about the Bills. We haven't talked about the Chargers. We haven't talked about the Texans and their defense. The AFC is changed just a little bit as things are shaking out here in 2025.
Here's a question I got for you, John.
Okay.
All right. 6 weeks ago, if I told you week 15 that the Dolphins would still be alive and the Chiefs would be eliminated, what would you say?
No way. Of course not.
Yeah.
Of course, or the Texans for that matter. I wouldn't put the Texans back in this race. Yeah. I mean, if you look at what they've done here in just the last 4 or 5 weeks. I mean, they've put together 1, 2, 3, 4. They've got a 6-game winning streak in 7 of 8, and they lost their only loss was a 3-point loss versus Denver.
That's why the NFL's great, right? I mean, it's just. It's there's just so many storylines. There's just so many things that can happen in a season. There's so many teams that start off bad and people count them out, and then all of a sudden they get in a little bit of momentum and they rattle off a couple wins, and then things are different.
Yeah. One thing that when you look at some of these teams and you're talking about them, and you talk about this winning streak that the Dolphins have, the winning streak that the Texans have been on, obviously the long winning streaks that Denver and New England are on. Jacksonville is riding now in the crest of a 5-game winning streak in 6 of their last 7. Pittsburgh, what are we doing? This is what I mean. Can we put 3 wins together? Right. Can we get 3 wins together? Is that much to ask for? Well, is it much to ask that this team puts a 3-game winning streak together?
Right.
It's just part of the overall ball of wax when it comes to Mike Tomlin led Steelers teams in year 19.
Yeah. Well, I mean, can we get a winning streak together when you need one together late in the season? That's, I agree with you. Here's another thing, too. We talk about the teams that have, surprised, started off little slow, but now they're starting to soar. Like we've talked about the Texans. The Dolphins. How about the teams that have? How about the Tampa Bay Buccaneers? How about the teams that have taken a step back? That's a team that 4 weeks ago I was like, wow, this team's really rolling. This team's something. And now they lose against the Falcons on Thursday Night Football. Lose against the Falcons. I know it was a very close game, but that's a team that's kind of is not is not doing too well here late in the season. When you want to get momentum, they're not doing too well.
Yeah, well, Tampa has completely fallen apart, and that's the other bad division in the NFL is the NFC South. They're just not very competitive. I'm not saying the NFC East is looking great. You've got two teams out of the North. You're going to probably have at least three teams out of the West. That's as competitive a division as anything right now. The Rams and Seahawks at 11-3, with the Rams having the tiebreaker, and the 49ers breathing down their neck. Meanwhile, Carolina lost ground to Tampa. They lost this past week, so Tampa Bay has reclaimed the spot in the top spot of the NFC South. Yeah, Tampa has fallen apart, and it's been a rough season for Baker Mayfield, who I absolutely love. I loved him at Oklahoma. I when Cleveland drafted him, I thought, oh my God, you had Joe Burrow, you had Baker Mayfield, you had Lamar Jackson, and Ben at the end of his career, who was just not looking as good as he obviously had once had looked. And I thought to myself, jeez, and then the Browns do what the Browns do best. They screw the pooch on that one. Cincinnati can't protect their quarterback. He's a China doll, and Lamar Jackson his talent has been wasted to some degree in Baltimore. They can't put together, for as good as their defenses are and as great as Jackson is, they have not been able to produce any winning results. And that is that's a waste. You have windows in this league, right? You have certain windows in this league where quarterbacks, the true elite quarterbacks in the history of the league are the ones that have been able to win past their sixth year in the league. Okay? There's only a handful, right? After your sixth or seventh year in the league, quarterbacks have a hard time winning Super Bowls. They just do, right? That's what made Tom Brady so great. That's what made Peyton great. He was able to win later in his career. Obviously John Elway is a prime example of that. He got to a bunch of 3 Super Bowls in his first 6 or 7 seasons, but he couldn't win the big one. And until he got a defense behind him and a good running game, they were able to put things together late in his career. It's hard to win Super Bowls after 6 or 7 seasons in the league. I don't know what it is, but there aren't a whole lot of them. Earlier in the history of the NFL, in the Super Bowl era, you had some quarterbacks that did it. Bob Greasy was one of them. Roger Staubach was one of them. Obviously, Terry Bradshaw was one of them. Jim Plunkett later in his career led the Oakland Raiders to a Super Bowl. Doug Williams did it for the Washington Redskins. I think Mark Rippon was in his 6th or 7th season when he was, or 3rd team when he was with Washington. So
what about Hostetler? I think
Jeff Hostetler had spent 6 or 7 seasons, I think, in the NFL when he stepped in to help the Giants win a Super Bowl when Phil Simms was hurt. Super Bowl 25, there's a good one. But and I'm not saying that Jackson can't still lead a team. Look at Josh Allen. Allen's been in the league 8 seasons now, and he's been to I think 1 conference championship game.
Brad Johnson too, but that's another guy. Brad Johnson, winning with the Buccaneers back in the day.
And again, these guys were journeymen that moved all over the place. Obviously, I don't think Jackson's ever, I wouldn't say ever, but I think he'll spend the majority of his career in Baltimore. I can't see the Ravens. No. Even moving on from him. Maybe they will at some point. Who knows? But there's a window. There just is. Teams have windows, and they may be closing. Buffalo's window. People thought if they lost on Sunday, they got down 21-0 yesterday.
I know.
And everybody thought the window is closed on Josh Allen. And what happens in the second half? They rally. They rallied, and it just, maybe it's their year. But again, You look at what Drake May has put together this year in just his second season, right? You look at what Bo Nix is doing. Is this year 3 for him? I think. There's year 2.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
year 2 for him as well. Lawrence has been in the league now 5-6 seasons. I know a lot of people have been knocking on him, but presumably they're 10-4. They've won 6 in a row and 7 of their last 8. Presumably he's getting better or getting things figured out. And you got Allen, you got Justin Herbert. I mean, these are guys that do have time on their clock still in Jackson, but the opportunity is now for teams of that nature. They've got to. So one of those 5 or 6 teams is, probably going to end up representing the AFC. I don't see the Steelers making a big run. I really don't. And I can see them losing tonight's game just as easily as winning it by 3 and losing it by 3.
Well, you were talking about Josh Allen. If you're the Buffalo Bills and you see that the Chiefs get eliminated, I mean, they've got to be thinking, hey, man, this is our year. Like, this is our time. They've been the Achilles heel for the Bills in recent years. The Chiefs have. I mean, do you think they're thinking that? I mean, I can pretty much guarantee you they're thinking that. Like, hey, this is our year. And I agree. You have windows. Every team has a window. Every player has a window. So definitely. So Derpy's chiming in. He says, I'm not saying the Steelers will win the Super Bowl, but if they were to win it, this is definitely one of those years, and I hope we live up to our full potential and get our money's worth.
I don't see it.
I don't either.
No. And again, I think we mentioned this last week. I might have mentioned this on the Tuesday show even. This is the strangest season I've seen in a long, long time. Long time. The strangest season of Mike Tomlin's tenure, I think, for sure.
Yeah.
I don't remember anything as turbulent as this season has been. And again, I've covered the team off and on for 25 years, and I've certainly paid attention for a long time. Having worked in this business, since the early mid 90s, it's the craziest season I've seen for the Steelers in quite a long time. Maybe you'd have to go back to, one of Bill Cowher's non-winning seasons for this kind of turbulence that we've seen. You know what I mean? Just very middle of the road play, very, up one week, down the next, can't figure out things offensively, can't figure out things defensively. They've put so much money into this defense and all the hype, and they've just been very, very blah all season long.
I mean, the turbulent season I remember was 2003 when they went 6-10, and obviously we know what happened a year later. They drafted Ben Roethlisberger. But I mean, I can just, that 6-10 year was just, you want to talk about dismal. What was it there towards the end there? I think they lost like 5 in a row. I can remember them interviewing Plexico Burress, and they're like, "You've lost 5 games in a row," and he was like, "Really? It's been 5?" He was like,
I love it.
It's been 5 games. Yeah. It's been 5 games. That was a dismal year, but great things come of that. Like I said, the next year you drafted Ben Roethlisberger, and but I just remember that season. That was
2003.
2003. Remember they got beat by the Chargers at home by Doug freaking Flutie. Remember that?
Yeah, I remember that.
I mean, he just threw the ball all over, And I can remember Cowher. You could tell Cowher that year was just like, oh man. I can remember him saying, and it's kind of a life lesson quote that he had, but he said, you're never as bad as what you think you are, and you're never as good as what you think you are either. And that's very true. Very true in a lot of things.
All right. We're going to move along here as we have Anthony Halkias joining us in just a few seconds. Anthony, of course, is a lead writer for SteelerNation.com. If you have not checked out their website, you should do so. SteelerNation.com is one of the Steeler ag pages.
What do you think of this comment, John? Too much emphasis on the game. Steelers only need to win one of the next 3 games and beat the Ravens.
No.
I totally disagree.
Like, what are we even talking about? I mean, no.
They totally disagree.
Yeah, no. This is on this game. No. You absolutely need to win this game.
Correct.
This is not an option to lose this game. Not really. Not to be quite honest with you. If you lose, you're going into Detroit against a Lions team that is desperate. Maybe more desperate than you are, because looking at them offensively, they are far superior to us offensively, weapon-wise. Defensively, you can talk about some of their problems. They got Aiden Hutchinson. He's a pretty good football player. But the truth of the matter is that they got to win this game. This game is important because it is at home, because they are coming off of this big win. They need to create some momentum going into Detroit.
Yeah, and like Paul said, if anything, Detroit would be. Yeah, I mean, you want to win every remaining game, but if anything, Detroit would be the game. If you were going to drop a game, that would be the game to drop. You definitely don't want to lose to an AFC team like you're facing tonight. You want to take care of business in Cleveland, and you definitely want to take care of business at home against the Ravens. So no, I don't. I think there's not enough emphasis on this game. I'm going to go the exact opposite.
And Richard, thank you for your comment. I'll say this, and here's why it's so important, Richard. You win this game, right? You still maintain your one game advantage over Baltimore with the game in hand. But here's the thing: you have the Detroit game on the road, and then you have to go to Cleveland. Won't be easy. But if you take one of those two, right, I'm banking on Baltimore having a hard time with New England. New England's going to be angry next week. They're now in a dogfight. They're now in a dogfight for the division. Just a game lead with Buffalo. I'm not sure how the tiebreaker works right now with them. I'm sure conference games are going to play a factor, right? The divisional. You'll have to look at I think they're head-to-head. They're split. I don't necessarily disagree, Richard says, but they only need to win one heading into Week 18. I understand the emphasis. Yeah, I think it's extremely important, because if you take one of the next two, if you win tonight and take one of the next two, the math sometimes isn't mathing. We talked about that with Coach Haley earlier. Yeah. Even though the analytics guys say that math. It is different math. But here's the thing. Here's what I'm saying here, Richard. They win this one. They only got to win one of the next two, and if Baltimore can go out and lose, two games, and I think that there's a better chance of them losing two.
Correct.
Than we do. Then the Week 18 means nothing. Yeah. Other than maybe some seeding at the 3. Right. Because Jacksonville is just a game ahead. I'd have to look and see what the Jaguars' schedule looks like. Who knows what those tiebreakers look like? Those will start to kind of come into play here over the final 3 weeks. And I don't want to get too far ahead, but that's just me looking at it. Go ahead. You wanted to say something, Bill, before we get Anthony. Let's get Anthony in here while we're at it. The poor guy's sitting on hold. Gets in here. Anthony Halkias, lead writer. We'll talk. Stay with us, Bill. Stay with us. Okay. Anthony's going to be joining us here, of course, lead writer for Steeler Nation. How'd your parlays go this weekend? Did you make any money, young man?
What's up, John? I'm making them right now. I was just sitting here making them. I came on here and I had to tell you a confession, John. Last night I did something really bad. Okay, we had a great day. We started the 1s well. We started the 4s well.
Okay.
And my boy George Pickens was playing in the night game, and right before the game, I was like, I'm not going to bet George, but I had him at 80 yards. Okay. 73.5 is where his line is. So I'm like, that's a 6.5 yard edge. I really like that. And in the pregame, Dak said something about George being pissed about last week. And so a lot of units went on George, and he had
one of those deals. It's like, hey, it's so funny you say that, because Aaron Rodgers, all the talk heading into, remember the Bengals game, all the talk was, where's Pat Freiermuth, 2 touchdowns and like $150 receiving. And then last week, all the talk going into Baltimore was, where's DK Metcalf, and what did he do? He blew up. Yeah. You weren't wrong. I was on Pickens too to have a decent night receiving. That didn't go well, but it's not. It's applied logic. It's not a bad way to think, to be quite honest with you.
I call them regression plays. You have a player has a bad week. The problem with George is you just don't. He can have a lot of bad weeks. You just don't know. It's just,
now he's had his up cycle was those first 9-10 weeks, right, of the season, those first 10-11 weeks where everything was good, and then all of a sudden it takes one game for him to be off the rails. He's been off the rails now for 3-4 weeks now.
Yeah, it's shocking, but it's weird too, because just 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago, I'm sitting here thinking like, this is why we don't trade him. And now it's like very obvious why you do trade him. So, it's funny how the NFL works, week to week league, but
well, it is a week-to-week league, and we're day-to-day in terms of our opinions and things of that nature, right? Cam Newton coming out and trashing Phillip Rivers. What about me? I'm 36. What's your agent doing? Is your agent on the phone with anybody making phone calls?
Listen, I'm the world's biggest, I love Cam Newton. I would, I would go to war for him outside of Steelers players. I picked a couple players, and Cam Newton was my guy. Like when they lost that Super Bowl, now seeing him on TV, it doesn't seem as authentic to me. And I don't know. Like
maybe there's some half truth in there. All right, there's some half truth in there. And these guys know at this level that they got to say things that move a needle, that bring clicks in and eyeballs. Right? You know what I mean. Ryan Clark has done a pretty good job of doing that as well. But that's a topic for another day. Let's get into Steelers and Dolphins. Have you seen anything along the wire? I'm trying to keep the X refreshing to see if we get anything new coming across. Have we seen any of the final numbers in terms of players? Who's not going to play and who is? Have you seen anything?
I haven't seen anything. I mean, obviously, we know about TJ, right? I haven't seen. I don't think Harmon's going. Did you see that yet?
He's questionable. I think they said that he's going to play. He's going to have limited snaps.
Limited snaps. Yep. I know Pierre's out.
Well, Harmon's the key here, right? Obviously, I mean he's
on that list.
Yeah, he's the key. Obviously, they give up 100 less yards rushing a game when he's playing, and it was obvious from week 3 when he made his debut against New England. They were able to finally stop a rushing attack after the first 2 weeks getting gashed by Seattle, and then in the opener at New York by the Jets of all people, who absolutely just slashed them apart on the ground. Early thoughts on what you're expecting to see tonight, Anthony?
Yeah, so I told you about how much I lost last night, so I'm going to do the same thing, and we're going on Steelers money line. I like them at minus 170.
Okay.
And what scares me about I just a week ago said I'm not going to back I'm not backing the Steelers again, and then they go out and what do they do against the Ravens? And you see all the stats about the Steelers on Monday Night Football since 1991. And you see how Tua historically has struggled in the cold weather. But then when I look at it, it almost sets up perfectly for the Dolphins with Achane coming back. And then the fact that our rush defense still is struggling. Harmon's going to be on limited snaps and no TJ. I still think the Steelers roll. I think they roll tonight.
Do you think they're going to win big?
I don't think – I think it's going to be a stressful game. I think Achane is going to have a lot – I think he's going to be very tired. He's going to be working. I think he's going to have a lot of carries, a lot of receptions. And I think that's going to be their whole offense. I think it's going to be a little more stressful than I'd like to say, but at the end of the game, I think we're going to control the clock in the cold weather. Steelers win. This is a game they're going to win. It seems like one they're going to lose, and they have to get it, and I think they get it tonight. Relatively easy in that fourth quarter.
Really?
Got the injury report for you guys.
Oh,
so
we got it in. Injury.
Andres Pete is out. Justin Pierre is out with a calf. Pete has the concussion. Jalen Warren questionable with an illness. I did hear that, but he's going to play. Derek Harmon questionable with a knee, but from what I'm hearing, he's going to play limited snaps, and obviously T.J. Watt out.
So Harmon is playing.
Okay, good.
He's questionable. Yeah. He's questionable. Well,
yeah, but we're hearing that he's going to play.
Yeah, but so they'll have to release all of that here in the next games at 8:15.
They're going to have to release it by 6 p.m. I think.
Yeah.
I think it's
6 or 6:30 at the latest. Yeah. So we're still waiting to see what the final results are going to be on Harmon specifically. The rest of the players we're not really concerned about right now. We want to know what.
But I mean, we're hearing that he's more than likely going to play. Yeah. He's just going to be limited snaps.
If you say limited snaps, I like to think they're going to suit up.
Yeah.
I would say 20 snaps max. If he's limited, I'd take 20 from him. You know what I mean? I would take 20 from him, but and on first and second down, if they get to third and short, you may want to keep him in there. But I think they're going to. I guess it's really just going to depend on where he is at physically. And again, I don't know if the Dolphins are going to be able to run wide. I know they want to run wide. They have tremendous speed, right? And their offensive line, to their credit, has played extremely well, and certainly have the last 5 or 6 weeks. But I don't know if they can. I don't know if the turf is going to allow them, Anthony. Right? You know what I mean? We talk about the turf issues in this stadium, and the sidelines are never really good. I've seen the sidelines quite a bit, in the pregame warmups. I've seen a number of home games recently where it just looks bad. It looks real bad. And getting to the, once they get to the numbers and get outside, if the turf is not in good shape, that's going to be a little bit of an advantage for the Steeler defense.
Yeah. I agree. It's such an interesting one. Like, so if TJ Watt were playing, if that had never happened, I watched where that line was. I can't remember if the line was, do you know how much it moved from him being in and out? I can't remember because the day it happened, it moved so quick, but I don't think it moved too much, which was interesting to me. Because if you recall in the past, it was basically if TJ wasn't playing, it was a foregone loss.
Oh yeah. The numbers are bad when he doesn't play.
But I don't think that's this team. I think that is misconstrued a little bit by, and I don't remember exactly who the starters were, but you got to remember that was Kenny, Mitch, Mason. And that was when our defense was really winning us games at that time. I don't think this team, they rely on Watt, but I think they're more suited now with Herbig, Highsmith. I think they're more suited now to handle it. I think
they're like 1-11.
Yeah, see, that stat's always been interesting to me. I can't remember if it's 1-10, 1-9, 1-11, because they do the, that's
1-11. They're 1-11.
1-11. Did you get that from?
Got it from the good old Google search.
Yeah, yeah, that's it.
It comes from ESPN, by the way. That comes from ESPN.
Yeah, it doesn't. That number doesn't faze me as much as it would have in the past. The thing that I'm scared about, and I have them in my parlay of. This is my save the day part. I need this one. But I'm telling you, Jaylen Warren, little flu game tonight. He's a little sick. And I know I was sick with it a couple weeks ago, and I put myself in his shoes. I was out. I wasn't even wagering the way I'd like to. But Jaylen Warren's a dog, and he's going to be, if he's on that field, he's going to go crazy tonight. I think this is going to be the Jaylen Warren game. Now, the only worry is if he is ill, they love Kenneth Gainwell. And I think Kenneth Gainwell is also going to be in for a big game tonight. But we're going to do all running. We're not going to get a lot of the passes like the Steelers fans are going to want. That's at least how I see it. I know Mike Tomlin. I know he wants to play a game like this. And I think he's going to make it really ugly. And Todd Haley said it. Let's give Darnell Washington the ball at the middle. Let's give him the ball in the backfield.
Maybe. I'd like to see them throw the ball to Pat Freiermuth one time. You know what I mean? I just want 1 or 3 or 4 times. You pay this guy all this money, and then you're struggling for not having a number 2 receiver. You've got Jonnu Smith who could play like a wide receiver, right? You know what I mean? You're trying to exploit Darnell Washington now. You've got Freiermuth who's been muscled out for whatever reason. It's like they just discovered Darnell Washington. They drafted him 2 seasons ago, and I'm like, why aren't we throwing the ball to him? And it took a season and a half for them just to warm up to maybe put the guy out there to throw the ball to him occasionally. And now they're using him more than they have in his first 3 seasons. And look, it's great, and I think you want to give obviously Aaron weapons to throw to, but like you said, they have no identity running the football. This team has not run the football at all well outside of the Cincinnati game on the road, and there might be one more in there. I don't think they've had much of a running attack all season long, and that puts a lot of pressure on a 42-year-old quarterback.
Well, he had 34 yards rushing last week. I think we can do better this week.
Yeah.
Oh.
And yet they still won.
Yeah, exactly. That's unheard of usually, but yeah.
Well, go ahead, Anthony. You were going to say something.
Well, other thing too, just knowing Mike Tomlin, he seems to be a guy that's going to really get Jonnu Smith. I think he's talked to Arthur Smith probably. He's like, hey, let's make this the Jonnu game too. I wouldn't be shocked if they try to feature him a lot. Just knowing Mike Tomlin would want to get him going. But I say that, but I just don't have a lot of confidence in it actually happening because I haven't seen it much with my eyes. But that's how I like to play it. I probably put him in a parlay too.
Nobody has seen it, really.
I expected to see it a lot more. I really thought Arthur Smith was going to have a field day with these 3 tight ends. I'd like to think most football minds could figure it out.
he's conservative by nature, and this is the problem, is the guy who employs him is the same way, which is why he was hired. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's the real trick here, is that that's why I like having Todd Haley on, you know what I mean? Because I asked him about these scenarios in the analytics world. You've got teams that are like the Eagles were down 2 touchdowns a couple weeks ago. A Chicago game, maybe Thanksgiving actually. Now that I think about it, no, it wasn't Thanksgiving. It was a Black Friday game.
Black Friday
game when they were down by 2 touchdowns. They score with like under 3 minutes to go, and they go for 2 because the stupid paper says so.
Yeah.
What are you doing to yourself? Hey,
I love that in a betting sense, right? Like that's me and George Pickens last night, but you have to have a little bit of nuance to it. You don't just do it because the stupid paper said to.
Right, which is what Todd's saying. You've got to use feel. You've got to look at things. You've got to look at timeouts. You've got to look at clock. You've got to, think to yourself, am I going to get – if I miss this, I've got to get the ball back twice versus if I kick the extra point and we make it most likely, all I need is one possession to get to a chance to tie the game with a touchdown in it too, right? You know what I'm saying? So there's that element to it that I find interesting as well. What are you expecting from Tua tonight? Do you think the Steelers can take the running game away and force him to throw 30 times and make some mistakes? Sounds like you do.
If you would have asked me this pre-Baltimore, I thought this team was just done. They always do that thing where they pull me back in, and I would have said Tua was going to go for 400 and have the best game of his career. That's just the pessimist in me. I think tonight they make his life miserable. I think they're going to suffocate him in that pocket. I don't think he's going to have a good game. I really don't. I think we're going to get after him, but that is also a theory in my head pre TJ Watt being out. I'm excited to see how we handle that. That's my biggest thing there. I know that's not like a hot take or anything, but I'm really excited to see how this team can handle without TJ Watt now, because we all talked about it. Maybe we trade TJ. Maybe we move on from TJ. Maybe he's past his prime. But we're going to find out tonight if the fan base was accurate in that, or maybe we're missing TJ.
Richard Hunt checking in via our YouTube channel. Stats are wild for this game. Steelers are 22-0 on Monday Night Football. Dolphins are 0-12, under 40 degrees, 1-11 without TJ. I know it's nuts.
It's awesome.
Well, yeah, it does, certainly leans. It leans Steelers for sure in those regards. This version of the team scares me. They bother me almost.
What scares you the most? What's your biggest concern tonight?
Tomlin and his staff and what their game plan may be. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right. Okay, let's just say Harmon is limited. Let's say he is going to play, but he's limited. You're going to get a percentage of him that's going to help you, but you're not going to get the full effect. Okay. What are they going to do offensively is that's my concern more than anything else. The defense is, we don't know what we're going to get from them, and I'm concerned about what we're potentially not going to get from this offense. And my concern is, how are we going to look offensively if we can't run the football? Is Aaron, if it's 14, 15 mile per hour winds, what are we looking at in terms of weather? And how the offense plays tomorrow or tonight.
Well, I'd assume tonight that's why they go with Jonnu and to get him going early and often. It should not be, and maybe I'm just ignorant. Maybe I don't understand the game as well as I like to think I do. I'd love to talk to people who are just like way smarter than me and have been in, like Todd Haley. Why can't they just get him? It just seems too easy. There's so many options on that field.
I can tell you why, because there's been reports that Aaron Rodgers doesn't like the way he runs routes.
That's crazy. That's absurd.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's what it's been said week after week that he's not comfortable with the way he runs routes. I don't know whether there's any truth to that, but that's what that's what we've been hearing for a while now.
Yeah.
I've been wondering the same thing. I mean, the guy had what? How many? What did he have last year? 85 receptions last year. I forget what it was.
He had over 1,000 yards, if I remember correctly, in an offense that was. There was no Tyreek. I think Waddle was hurt. Like every week, you knew it was going to Jonnu, and Mike McDaniel and them figured it out. That That's what bothers me the most. You don't go out and get a guy. I know we got Jalen Ramsey too, but you don't go out and get him if the quarterback that you're going all in on this year doesn't like the way he runs routes. It's not the first time we haven't addressed that. Aaron didn't know how he ran routes before he got here. It's a lot of tape on him. Arthur Smith's very familiar with him. That seems crazy to me, but
yeah, I mean, it seems crazy to me too, but I mean, that's what I've been hearing. Yeah, I mean, he had 88 receptions last year with Miami. 88 receptions last year. And, I mean, this guy could literally be your legitimate number 2. And it's just, I've been questioning it as well. Why aren't they throwing it to him? You signed him here. Why aren't you utilizing him?
Yeah, and it's like it's not like you have a long shelf life on him. Like, you got to get him going this year early. It's not a long experiment, and it shouldn't be hard. He's a vet in this league, coming off the best year of his career, and it seems like we've made him non-existent, extinct.
Well, you heard two games ago when Aaron Rodgers in that post game pretty much said it. He said he's got to do better at running routes.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
I trust Aaron's opinion, obviously. So it's hard for me to come out here and say otherwise. But
I'm gonna tell you guys what I'm afraid of tonight. Okay, I'm afraid of one guy. It's called Devin Achane. That's who I'm afraid of tonight.
Yeah,
I think this is a game that he could just run wild on you.
I would if anyone needs a bet tonight, as much as I hate to say this, Devon Achane, I'd put. I know he's coming off injury. He's not coming back into this game. They said I think he could have played last week too. Jalen Wright was having a game. So personally, I agree 100% with you, and it's going to be really tempting not to put a lot of money on him to have. I just feel like that's going to be their only chance to win, and he's so fast, so hard to stop. And do you guys have faith the Steelers can stop him?
You couldn't stop Chase Brown, who was they were averaging 57 yards a game.
Yeah.
You couldn't stop Chase Brown, so
The concern is I'm just hoping the field conditions aren't very good. I'll be honest with you. I don't think they could. I mean, they might be able to run between the A gaps on the Steelers. I mean, plenty of teams have.
If you need Boswell, I disagree with that.
Yeah.
John. If you need Boswell to kick you some field goals, I'm praying that the dear Lord let the field conditions be great. Because,
It seems like the field conditions have been worse to the outside this year, but I don't know. We'll see. All right, Anthony, quick prediction before we let you go.
Yeah, I'm gonna go 21-17 Steelers, and I think this game is gonna for a long time in this game. It's gonna feel like this fans are gonna be mad for the most part of it. It's not gonna be a game we're gonna love, and then they're gonna get going. Jalen Warren's gonna open it up late, and I think we'll comfortably win 21-17. I know that sounds closer, but I just think that fourth quarter is going to be a lot of Tomlin ball, just dominate, control clock. And I'll be stunned. I will be stunned if Tua comes out and has a good game tonight in the cold. But I've been stunned before about this Steelers team when they're facing quarterbacks I think a little less than of. And Tua's a talented quarterback. I don't want to just paint him as like a horrible – I just,
Well, he's capable. He's capable when he's not – when it's not all on his shoulders, right? I mean, he's just look, he, in another 2 or 3 years, a year or two down the road, he might develop into, a serviceable NFL quarterback. It takes time in this league. We've seen quarterbacks that just it takes time for them to get it, right? I mean, I talk about Geno Smith as being a great example of that, right? I mean, Geno struggled, and then all of a sudden, in year 8 or 9, and now he is, but he had a 2-year run up in Seattle that was really, really good.
Look, I'm the biggest Geno Smith fan in the world. I love what you're saying right now, but it's hard in Las Vegas, and you saw what Kenny Pickett did yesterday. Come on,
he took money. I don't blame him. You know what I mean? He knew what he was getting into. That franchise is snake bit. All right, Anthony, go win some money tonight and send me all your winners via text message.
Hey, Achane, Steelers money line. Those are my 2 favorites.
All right.
On a Dolphin, but you got to, right? Business is business.
That's right. Never about the heart. All right, Anthony, thank you. Appreciate your time.
I'll see you, man.
All right, brother. Anthony Halkias, a lead writer on SteelerNation.com. Go check them out, SteelerNation.com. We like those people over there, and they treat us pretty good. So, all right, we're hoping to have Rob Pizzola on here in just a few minutes. He is going to be our guest for Consig's Picks, our weekly NFL betting segment. It looks like Rob is jumping in, and live from up north, up in Canada way, we'll bring in Rob Pizzola here. for our Consigs Picks segment. Rob is the co-owner of BetStamp and the Hammer Betting Network. Rob, good evening, sir. How are you? With the oh my God, we got a Bartolo Colon jersey and a Tony Romo behind you tonight.
Yeah, in the downtown studios for us tonight. I'm a big Romo fan, Cowboys fan from growing up, so that one is back there. Bartolo Colon, I don't know why that's there, honestly. One of our producers probably just a Cologne fan. But it's cold here, just like it is for you guys. So just dealing with the winter right now.
Any Archie C and Frocco jerseys hanging around back there by any chance?
We have an assortment of all sorts of stuff. We have a big Dolphins fan in offense. I didn't put any Dolphin stuff behind me for tonight's game for you guys.
We don't mind. We don't mind. It's quite all right. By the way, I spent a lot of my youth in Canada. I have a lot of family up there still. I haven't been to Canada in a long time, but I spent a lot of time at Exhibition Stadium.
Yep.
I spent a lot of time trolling around Blizzard's games, early Jays games. I saw Nolan Ryan throw a one-hitter up there in '89 in the bitter cold in April. I love everything about the city. It's such a great town, and it's sad that I haven't been up that way in a long time. But I appreciate you coming on board with us. We really appreciate you. Been following you on X for quite some time. You do a great job of breaking things down. I want to talk about BetStamp first, though. I want to talk about this thing you came up with, because John Murgis, who is a friend. He's been on the show before. He uses BetStamp. How did you come up with the idea that this product would be good for the betting community? Because I think it's important that, if you're either, somebody who's in this profession that you are, or if you're somebody that's selling picks, if you're a tout, if you will, if you've got a service you're providing, tracking plays. Last week on Gambling X, there was somebody that got caught. A couple of them got caught faking I just won all this money. Turns out they didn't. And so talk about BetStamp and your idea and how that all came to be.
Yeah, so first and foremost, I mean, this came to fruition about 4 years ago, and it's different times now because there's a lot of odds comparison tools that are in market nowadays. You don't have to use BetStamp to go and get the best price available in market or anything like that, but it is a tool that you can use. For me, I went from being a big-time losing bettor to a winning bettor, and that spanned multiple years. But the biggest difference for me was actually tracking what I was doing, because there's a lot of biases when you're a losing bettor. You kind of convince yourself that you're getting unlucky with a lot of things. But really, until I started focusing on diligent tracking of every single bet I'm making, here's where I'm going wrong, here's what's working for me, that kind of flipped the switch for me. And that was big on what we wanted to bring to the market, was just a bet tracking tool that people could log all their bets in real time. It had some secondary use cases as well. One of them was to keep touts honest, or to keep people honest that were selling picks, where they could fall back on it and be like, hey, listen, I have a documented record on this platform where you can't make up any sort of lines or anything like that. But at its core, it's just a tool that I think is just very valuable for bettors to use on a daily basis. Like, I'm the co-owner of the company. I still use it for all of my bet tracking. I still use it whenever I'm in a pinch. I'm on the road. Somebody sends me a bet. They say, I really like this tonight. I quickly pull up who has the best odds. I bet it there. So it just serves like a lot of different use cases, really.
How is the betting in Canada? I gotta be honest with you. I'm not really familiar with who's legal up there, what you can bet. Do you use offshore? Talk to me about what the options are up north of the border these days.
Yeah, we're actually very privileged here. I'm in Ontario. It's regulated sports betting, but we have tons of sports books. This isn't, some U.S. states, you have 3, 4, 5 options. Here we got about 40 right now.
Okay.
In the regulated market. Now, some of them are a little bit Mickey Mouse, and you know the drill, where you win and you're out the door very quickly. But having that many options is nice. We have an exchange here. I do still bet offshore. I still do bet underground as well through, the PPH local booking. Anywhere I can bet.
Yeah, mine's hawking me for a payment right now via text message as we speak. Yeah, no, I think everybody should have a local, right? You know what I mean? Spread it around. You never know. You might get a better price.
100%. There's a convenience factor to that as well, especially if you've been dealing with someone for a long period of time. But the reality is, exactly like you said, wherever I can get a good price and I can get good liquidity, that's where I'm going to try to bet. And sometimes that's in the regulated market, sometimes it's not. But I'm not turning down a sports book unless there's some horror stories related to that sports book, which, then I'm not depositing a bunch of money in there. But that's kind of just been my MO for a while now. I'll bet wherever I possibly can if I'm getting a good price.
You can check out Rob Pizzola on X at Rob Pizzola. He is a professional sports bettor, co-owner of the Hammer HQ and BetStamp. He does a number of podcasts. You can check him out online. He's a really good follow on X. Pretty sharp guy. And, I'm always interested in his content. All right, let's talk a little bit about this game tonight. We're still waiting to find out if Derek Harmon is going to play. If he does, probably going to be limited. When he plays, the Steelers defensively give up about 100 less yards rushing. Devon Chain is having an amazing season. How do you see the Miami rushing attack against this very suspect, questionable Steelers defense without TJ Watt as well?
Yeah, I think they're going to have some success on the ground, and I really think that Miami's going to lean into it. This has kind of been the changing of the guard for Miami offensively in the last 4 to 6 weeks here. They've really leaned into the run. They've had a lot of success doing so. Now, Devon Achane is dealing with that rib injury. That's something to watch out for because he's very dynamic. He's a speedster. But you see the Dolphins practicing in cold weather this week, really trying to kind of get into that zone where they haven't been under Tua for a long time, right? We all know about the Tua in the cold trends, the Dolphins in the cold, warm weather team coming to this type of climate. They're trying to dispel that notion. I mean, they should have some edges on the ground. They're very versatile in their running game. They run some inside zone concepts, outside zone. They can pull guards over and run some man stuff. That's kind of one of the strengths of McDaniel as a head coach. He's very offensively gifted. So without Harmon out there or in a limited capacity, I would be certainly concerned about the Steelers. But this is going to be a hostile environment as well. And it's a big home field advantage for Pittsburgh playing at home. So that kind of offsets it a little bit. But I fully expect Miami to lean into the running game. They don't want to have to air it out 30 plus times in this. That would kind of be a recipe for disaster for them.
When you look at a trend, is it something, or are you just about the analytics and numbers and things that are more important to you? DVOA is one of the ones I hear being talked about all the time. I don't even understand it, but maybe that's why I don't win as many bets as you do or others do. What about trends? How do you look at those? If you're looking at something in terms like Army Navy, right? The under in that game, right?
Yep.
How do you look at trends when you're looking to size up a play, perhaps?
So first and foremost, I'm a very analytical, plain and simple. A lot of the new modern day analytics, EPA, success rate, stuff like that. I'm factoring a lot of that. I'm not dismissive of trends, but I always ask myself a couple things. Whenever I get presented with a trend, it's like, is there some sort of, does this make sense from a logical perspective, right? If someone tells me a team is 8-1 in their last 9 Monday Night Football games, but they date back to 1970, right. I don't care about anything like that. Now, Tua in cold weather, okay, there could be something there, right? This is a quarterback that doesn't play in the cold all that often. So what I like to then do is I try to apply context to the trend, right? So for me, I'll dig deeper into these games. And what I notice is that I don't actually think it's the cold weather that really hurts Tua. I think it's the wind that hurts Tua, generally speaking, because he's not a strong arm quarterback. He's got a pretty weak arm. It's not going to be super windy in Pittsburgh tonight. A little bit of wind, but nothing crazy where you would be like, okay, this is alarm bells. And then on top of that, if you look at all those games that Tua's played in the cold, they've all been against really good football teams for the most part, right? A lot of them have been Buffalo, a couple Green Bay, and their defense has really been the unit in those games that have gotten killed. I mean, he's underperformed, don't get me wrong, but defensively, you look at the Dolphins, they're giving up 30 plus steady in those games. Yeah. So I just like to try to apply context to a trend more than just flat out use the trend. Because I think some people get misled a little bit when, especially stuff that predates the current quarterback, the current coaching regime. Like I don't really care for that stuff.
But now you just hit on something. For me personally, in the past, it used to be, are the coaches, is there something that applies to the coach that's in that trend? Usually 5 years or less is what I've always looked at. In college, it was 3 years or less. And now with the portal, you can't, the portal has, like I used to, my favorite season to bet college football. College has always been my money, like where I've done the best at in terms of all the different sports, and it was always this bowl season. Now with the portal, it's extremely, like Boise won the Mountain West, but they were 10-point underdogs over the weekend, and they got crushed by Washington because how many players jumped into the portal from Boise?
Right.
And are you blindly looking at something like that and just laying the chalk in a situation like that when you see 15, 20 guys, they won the Mountain West. Why are they 10-point underdogs? Well, because everybody's leaving.
Yeah.
So are those things, do you tend to stay away from something like that, or do you see value maybe in a play of that nature?
So you can find edges like that, right? They're going to exist, but over time the market catches up on these things, and you kind of got to evolve, right? The one example I always use when I'm talking to people about these things is there were trends 15 years ago that I used to bet in the NFL that would be steady moneymakers. One example would be a West Coast team going to the East Coast for an early start, 1 o'clock start. And they used to be horrible in those. But then what's happened in the last 10 years is teams have figured out how to travel. The West Coast teams get on, either they travel early. Out to the East. They've solved this problem, and it's not a thing anymore. In fact, it's actually reversed a little bit in recent years, where West Coast teams actually tend to play well on the East Coast. So to me, I'm always asking myself, is this already factored into the price? Or is this something new here that no one's thought of yet? And I'm always trying to find like these new things that people have thought of. I'm always looking to quantify new stuff, but that's the challenge with sports betting, is you might have something that's been really good for you, it's worked for a while, but no longer applies in a certain instance. So it's really tough. But situations where you have like opt-outs for bowl games, lots of players play, no one can put a perfect price on that game. Everyone's just kind of guessing as to what the prices should be in those games. So if you have the intuition that it's wrong, I mean, you got to go for it.
Home underdogs in the NFL used to be a steady money maker.
Yep.
Right. That was a good one. For a period of time, first half unders on the prime time games were good. And I know for a period of time, a couple years ago, Vegas, the Vegas Golden Knights, first period over 1.5. You know what I mean? There was like some uncanny runs on some of those that people would certainly take advantage of. Rob Pizzola is our guest in our Consigs Pick segment, co-owner of BetStamp, the Hammer Betting HQ, professional gambler out of Canada, giving us a few more minutes. Let's talk about tonight's game. Is there anything prop-wise? How do you like props? Has that been a market that, since it's come into play in the last few years? I know I've talked to enough professional gamblers, people that like to bet. They say they prefer the props now over the sides and totals. Where do you see this in terms of how much is your action involved in props?
Yeah, so my largest bets are sides and totals in the NFL, but I still bet props pretty regularly. I'd say they're a big part of what I do nowadays. Obviously, when you have so many books now where you can compare and price shop and get good prices, it's great. I think there's a few things that are going to cause some uncertainty for tonight's game that are worth looking into. For one, you obviously have the Jaylen Warren flu stuff from today, which is not super priced in my opinion, so far. I don't know if people really know this, but dehydration, it's more likely to actually get you in cold weather games because you actually don't feel yourself sweating that much. You don't feel thirsty, stuff like that. So whenever players are coming in with an illness in cold weather games, I'm always a little bit weary of that type of stuff. So I think that there's built-in upside in potentially Warren having to give up some snaps to Gainwell in this game, potentially even to Caleb Johnson. Like, I'm looking at Caleb Johnson in the anytime touchdown scorer market right now. You can find 13-1 on him. I mean, listen, he's not going to get a lot of snaps, but there's a big-time upside case there where I think that's a no-brainer to me. I'd be taking a look at Jaylen Warren under on rushing yards and even rushing attempts for this type of game as well. Another reason for that handicap would just be the style that Miami plays. They have long, methodical drives. They take up a lot of clock to get down the field because they run the ball so much. They don't really attack vertically. So that kind of compresses things a little bit more for the Steelers offense. So listen, if Jaylen Warren has a big game tonight, probably not going to have a good night myself. But I've gravitated towards his unders, and I look to Caleb Johnson as a big-time long shot here as an anytime touchdown scorer.
Take a peek at that. All right, prediction on tonight's game before I let you go, sir. I appreciate your time this evening.
Yeah, listen, I hate to do this. I do think the Dolphins are very live to win this game. It's Miami's kind of gotten to the point now over the course of the season where they're healthy. They had a lot of O-line problems early in the year, a lot of issues in the secondary, but you're kind of seeing now that they've gotten back to full health. They introduce a red zone threat in Darren Waller as well, coming off an injury a couple weeks ago, whereas Pittsburgh's headed in the opposite direction. James Pierre is actually quite an underrated loss, I think, for them in the secondary as well. I think he's not a household name, but a solid corner. You look at what they're dealing with at tackle right now, with Broderick Jones on IR, Calvin Anderson on IR, Andrus Peat, who started for them at left tackle last week, out as well. You got Rodgers dealing with that injury. Last week, he was able to find some downfield shots against Baltimore. I just don't know that those are going to be there tonight. The Dolphins play a lot of too high, and when both these teams, they kind of match up similarly in what they want to do. Everything underneath, yards after catch, run the ball effectively. Personnel-wise, I think Miami's more equipped to handle that right now because they're not depleted. They don't have the injuries that Pittsburgh does. So I'd say I see this as like a 2017 type of game for the Dolphins.
Rob Pizzola, professional gambler out of Canada, co-owner of BetStamp and the Hammer Betting HQ, joining us in our Consigs Picks segment. I appreciate your time, sir. We're brand new. We're just kind of in our first year. It's nice to be able to grab somebody like yourself and give us a few minutes of your time. Thank you.
No problem at all. Enjoy the game tonight.
All right, thanks, Rob Pizzola. There you go. It's nice having guests like this that know what they're talking about. If you're somebody who likes to wager, as my old boss Bruce Kyden used to say, John, if you're going to wager a couple chocolate chip cookies, you better know what you're doing. I know two people that always know what they're doing, and they'll be joining me here in the third hour. This is Steel City Sunday Live. We are at the North Park Lounge, Richland. Bill Akins is there. I'm in a hotel room in Princeton, New Jersey. Work called this morning, and I am out here for the next few days. We are going to be joined just in a few moments by Jerry DePaula and John Fedko. We'll bring them on here in a moment. I do want to tell you that tonight's show, portions of it, are brought to us by Arch Masonry and Restoration. That's right. Arch Masonry and Restoration is hiring brick masons and block masons, concrete finishers, labor help. No experience, no problem. They have programs that will get your career jump started in the building trades. 412-564-5733, or call them at that number, or visit their website, archmasonryinc.com. All right. Hour 2 done. Hour 3 about to begin. This is Steel City Sunday. We are approaching 1,500 people watching us on all of our platforms right now. Thank you for making us a part of your pregame experience. We are here every Steelers pregame. We will have no postgame show tonight. I might pop on. I don't think I'm going to pop on. I know I have a window to do so, but if we do, it'd be by myself. No post game for tonight with Jerry and John Fedko. But guess what? They decided to join us on our pregame show. Let's bring in Jerry DePaula.
Hello, John.
And John Fedko. There he is, right there.
Greetings. Happy holidays. Happy holidays.
Okay, excellent. All right, a little bit of an audience to see everybody here. Welcome to our pregame show. John, of course, joining us on our postgame primarily, but because we're not doing a pregame show, he has made some time for us in our pregame here, and he's got his tag team partner on the postgames, Jerry DePaula. Jerry, good evening, sir. No Antelopes football to talk about. It's got to make you sad in some way.
You know, football season is sort of, usually when I was working and covering Pitt football all those years, the weeks dragged by. But this year, since I wasn't working as much, and the only thing I really did was a couple of podcasts, and especially one with you, all of a sudden it's December, the season's over. And now we're getting to the real nitty gritty of the Steelers season, where every game is a playoff game. Don't you agree with that, Fedko? Every game matters so much. And that's what the NFL wants every game to matter. And this game tonight really matters.
This is a playoff game. For both of these teams, it's a playoff game. This is a proverbial must-win for both of them because, remember, the Steelers could get into a common opponent tiebreaker, okay? Because if they split, and I believe their division record's going to be the same, they'll get down to common opponents. And right now, the Ravens have a better common opponent record than the Steelers. The Steelers need to win this game. And by the way, of course, Miami has to win it. So it's a playoff game.
Yeah, they're 6 and
This
7.
is a playoff game. Yeah, Buffalo didn't do Miami any favors yesterday. Buffalo needed to lose that game, and they didn't. So now Miami's got to win out.
Well, the thing is, John, is that the only way the Steelers or the Dolphins are going to make the playoffs is by winning their division, or the Steelers especially. There's no wild card because Houston is the last team in right now. They're 9 and 5.
Well, now I'm going to back up on this. I'm going to go back to what I said. It is possible, Jerry. I know it's crazy.
Well, mathematically it's possible, but it's not realistic.
It's even a little bit beyond mathematically because both teams could end up 10 and 7, and 10 and 7 could grab you a market. Now Houston's coming on strong. The obvious bet is that Houston's going to grab that last wild card.
Their defense is not going to let them lose 2 out of 3, John.
Probably, yeah, but you never know. The Stroud could go down. You just don't know what's going to happen.
That's why tonight is such a big game.
Right, right. But I'm not ruling out that's why I said on last week's post game. So now, if you would, when I was talking 5 weeks ago, and of course you also have been watching our tremendous post game show 5 weeks ago, I was laughing about there's no way a wild card's ever coming out of this worst division in the history of the NFL. Well, guess what? Now a wild card actually could come out of the Steelers division. They could end up 10
I could also walk outside my front lawn. I could also walk outside my front lawn, John, and find a big bag of money. That's not happening either.
Houston really put a nail in that this week. Something would have to crazy happen to Houston, and they're coming. By the way, I wouldn't want to play Houston in the first round, and that's who the Steelers going to get. Houston's coming on really strong, and they're gonna get that last one, but Stroud could break his leg. I mean, something crazy could happen, and they do lose, and then 10 and 7 would get you in. So it's not crazy, but you're right. The odds are great. You got to win this horrific division. And of course, every week we see, Baltimore looks terrible. No, Baltimore looks great. No, Baltimore looks terrible. They looked great yesterday against a really bad Cincinnati team. So that last game is really stacking up to be, a Sunday night affair for it all. That's what the NFL's banking on. But the Steelers better win tonight for that Sunday game to be even more important.
The Vegas.
And let's face it, Detroit is in a must-win situation. Detroit's got to win out. So that's a playoff game for Detroit.
Tough game for the Steelers next week.
You can't lose this one, and you can't lose the one in Detroit. You better win this one, Steelers.
And Houston has Vegas and the Colts at home. The rest of the season at home.
Vegas is
struggling
teams. The ultimate gimme. Vegas is a gimme, along with the Browns.
So that brings us to tonight's game. In tonight's game, it is going to hinge, I believe, on the Steelers able to stop Achane. Achane might be the fastest running back in the league. He's a guy that either can break one. You put him down on the 15-yard line, all of a sudden he's going to go 85 yards because he's faster than anybody else on the field. And the Steelers, aren't the greatest tackling team in the secondary either. So I think that's going to be a huge problem. And I don't want to hear anything about the cold weather. Okay, forget about the cold weather. I understand that the Dolphins and Tua are 0 forever when it's under 40 degrees, and it's going to be under 20 degrees tonight. But you see what they did Saturday night, John. They flew into Pittsburgh Saturday night in the middle of a snowstorm. They went directly to Robert Moore's and practiced out in the snow.
Township. The road home, the road home of the Miami Dolphins, playing around in the snow. Listen, Jerry, allow me to talk about the weather. Okay, I'm going to break your rule.
You're a weather fan. I remember it from way back. You're a weather fan. Yep.
Well, of course, I worked with Dennis Bowman, who did the weather outside of the roof when it was 10 below. But listen, the weather's going to be critical tonight, especially for a speed guy. There's no doubt in my mind that turf is going to be slower because of the weather. None. So it is going to affect him, I believe, and it is going to affect.
It's going to affect the Steelers
especially
too.
A speed guy. It does affect him.
Both teams. It'll affect both teams.
I'm with you. And the bigger story right now is Jalen Warren with the flu. Because let me tell you something.
Big loss. Huge loss. Yeah,
and if you have the flu and it's 10 degrees, you may have a problem there. Now,
Warren might be their best playmaker. That's the best.
Have the inactives come out, Jerry? Have they come out? I don't know.
We're obviously looking for Harmon. That's the big one.
Right.
I mean,
yes.
Warren's going to play. I think Warren, they're gonna throw him with fluids and throw him out. Now, is he going to get a lot of carries? I don't know about that, but he's going to play. I bet.
Gainwell's a
but
good.
Harmon may not. Harmon may not, and that is a huge loss because we all know about the crazy Harmon stat. You know, when Harmon plays, it's 96 yards rushing. When he doesn't play, it's like 8,000. You know, it's like 196, I think is what it is they give up. So that is obviously a giant factor when it comes to an all-run team like the Dolphins. And yes, the Dolphins are an all-run team because their quarterback stinks. And in a game like this, okay, I love your guy from Canada, okay? Oh, Canada. Hey, him, I love him, but I'm going to tell him this. In a game like this, it's a playoff game. I'm taking the home team, especially with weather, and I'm definitely taking the better quarterback. And Tua is horrific. He is a turnover machine. He's going to have – Mark, here's my prediction. I'm on the pregame show now, Johnny, so I can come at you with these big predictions. Tua's going to have at least 2 big turnovers. He's a turnover machine. He's one of the worst quarterbacks in turning the ball over in the NFL. Look it up. And now he's going up against over a turnover machine defense. He's going to be brutal tonight. They don't want to put him in those 3rd and longs, and that's what the Steelers are going to try to do. They're going to try to stop those runs. You put Tua in a 3rd and long, they're going to play cover 3, and he's going to get picked off at least twice.
Who's the one guy that can put the Dolphins in 3rd and long and 2nd and long? It's T.J. Watt. Right. TJ Watt's not playing tonight. TJ Watt, he hasn't made a lot of them this season, and I think the Steelers can afford to lose him because they have depth at outside linebacker. But nonetheless, you know, Watt does a pretty good job in the ground game and run defense too. I think he's a pretty good guy coming off that line of scrimmage and coming laterally across the line and making tackles. And he's done that all season very, very well. And losing him is a big loss, I think, even though there's other guys at outside linebacker, but I think that's being minimized a little bit by people because there's so much depth at outside linebacker. But, Watt's a great player. He hasn't played great this year, but he's played solid. And anytime you lose a solid starter like that, and they're losing other guys too. Broderick Jones, maybe Warren's going to be compromised. Aaron Rodgers is already compromised. I think it's going to be tough for the Steelers to overcome all that tonight and beat the Dolphins.
Well, you saw –
Who has thrown 14 interceptions so far this year, although in his last 5 games, he's only thrown 4. And that's because they've been able to run the ball effectively and they've limited him to about 10 less passes. Go ahead, John Fedko.
Listen, obviously Watt is a gigantic loss, and we all know the big stat. Steelers are 1-11 without Watt, okay? But that 1-11 dates back to some really bad Steeler teams. Okay, so it was more than just losing Watt in those games. But yeah, he's been 1-11 without Watt. There's a bunch of stats that go in this game. The Steelers haven't lost a Monday night game at home since 1991. That's 22 straight. Now they had the crazy 2020 game that was in COVID. But remember, they played it in the afternoon against the Washington, whatever they are, and that was a joke. So if you're talking Monday night home. Back to 91, you got to go. Tomlin is insane on Monday night at home, and we always got to give Tomlin his dues. We talked about this before, that Indy game. We were all saying, all of us, he's going to win this game because these are the games Tomlin wins. He loses playoff games. He'll do it again, probably to Houston, but he wins games like this. He's going to win this game. This is my lock of the year. The Steelers are going to win and cover. I also like the under. The Steelers are going to win this game. I'm going to say 20-10. The weather is going to be a factor. The Dolphins are going to fold. It's going to be a painful field to play on. It's going to be hard, like as a rock. It's going to be like playing in the old Three River Stadium, and they're going to fold. The Dolphins are going to, and Tua's going to be a disaster. That's my prediction.
The Dolphins players have played in cold weather in high school. They played in cold weather in college. I think that's an overrated stat. I really do. I understand what the numbers.
This weather, not this, baby. That's tough out there, Jerry. You walked outside.
Currently,
I've been outside today. Yeah. Well, what, John? I'll be by after we're done here. I'll be by your house, pick you up. We'll go down and we'll sit in the stands, you and I, and we'll savor the flavor and we'll sit there in the cold and root for our Steelers.
There ain't no way I'm going down there and sitting in those stands, Jerry. I'm staying here watching the game and listening to Christmas tunes while I'm watching the games. I'm sure they're not listening to those announcers that they have on whatever ESPN. So yeah, I'll have the Christmas tunes up over those guys.
Domesticated
listen,
John
the
Petco.
weather is going to be, Jerry. I know you didn't want to say it, but I'll say it. That's why John pays us the big bucks. The weather's a huge factor, and that's what they're going to lose because of the home field, which includes the weather and the quarterbacks. I know Rodgers is hurt, but he had a great game last week. Remember all the huge plays to DK Metcalf? Now I don't know if you can pull that off again.
He had a
Still
good
better
game
defense. It is a better defense, no doubt. And the Dolphins are aware of that now. They're aware that they're going to go deep try to go deep to Metcalf, so that may not work. And listen, this may be one of the quickest games they made. This may be a 2-hour game. Because the Dolphins, it is. They're going to run the ball.
For you, John. You can get to bed early then, right?
I may be sleeping anyway. Do I have to do a post-game show? I may be in bed. Okay, I'll probably fall. It's going to be an ugly game. It's going to be an ugly, boring game. But if you're a Steeler fan, it'll be exciting because it is a playoff game. As you mentioned, Jerry DePaula.
You got to win.
It is a playoff game.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
they can't
if the
afford to
Steelers lose this game, baby, and that they have to go into Detroit, and I think Detroit's going to win that game. There's my prediction for next year. I think
that's
Detroit
8 losses right there. They lose the next 8 losses.
Now you're in
That's
trouble.
what I'm saying. And that's why this game is so important. They can't afford to lose this one.
It's a must-win.
Because Detroit is desperate
have to
for
win.
a win now. They're
Detroit has to win.
outside. They're outside. They're out. Yeah, they absolutely have to win.
They have to. They have to.
They're catching a break. Micah Parsons, ACL, he's done for the year for Green Bay. They've already slipped down to the 7th spot. So, I mean, they're not too far out of the race. But if they lose this game next week and then again
Detroit has to win out, John. They have to win out. They have to win out.
And that's possible for them. It's possible. But I'm talking about the Steelers right now.
The Steelers have to win tonight. They have to win tonight.
Critical that they win this evening. Absolutely.
They have to win tonight because I'm telling you, they're going to lose in Detroit next week. If they lose in Detroit next week, then the Baltimore game means nothing.
The playoffs this year are going to be very, very interesting, I think. If the Steelers can somehow wriggle their way into the playoffs, anything can happen because this is the first NFL playoffs since 1998 without Patrick Mahomes, Tom Brady, and Peyton Manning. Since 1998, one of those 3 guys has always been in the NFL playoffs. It's not going to happen this year. It's wide open. Kansas City is gone. The rest of the teams in the AFC are good teams, nothing special. Buffalo, to me, Buffalo might be the best team. And if they come into Pittsburgh for a playoff game, forget it. There's no way they're going to beat Josh Allen. There's no way. But then let's not get ahead of ourselves. They got to get there first, and they don't win tonight. I don't think they're going to get there.
I'm with you, Jerry. I think if the Steelers lose tonight, they're not going to get in.
All right.
I agree with that. But I think they are going to win. I think the Steelers are going to win. I think they are going to win tonight.
Let's talk about TJ Watt for a minute here. This story breaks mid-late week, last week. He goes into the practice facility. Maybe he wasn't feeling well, did a workout. Then he definitely didn't feel well. Next thing you know, he's being shipped off to a hospital. You got one story, and then you got his brother tweeting something slightly different. Jerry, I'll start with you. What did you take from the whole TJ Watt scenario last week where maybe he suffered some sort of injury based on what the training staff did versus maybe it was just something that happened to him somehow, somewhere along the way?
This dry needling thing that he had done to his lung and made the lung collapse and he had to have surgery. I've never heard of it before. But apparently it's something that athletes do as a restoration kind of thing. But let's not blame the Steelers training staff. We don't know who administered that needle. We don't know. It could have been somebody, a third party who did it. Let's not, indict the Steelers training staff. We don't know for sure who did it. But whoever did it, it wasn't done correctly. And I think it's something in the future that the teams, Steelers especially, TJ Watt especially, should be careful about using when you don't know what's going to happen. It's too dangerous. I don't know why he did it. I'm sure the reporters would love to talk to him and find out his mindset there. But it didn't work out well. He had to have surgery. He was in hospital 2 nights. He's not playing this week. I doubt he'll play against Detroit. Maybe they shut him down and maybe until the Baltimore game at the end of the season. Who knows? But it's a situation where somebody screwed up. And I think if you got to get a procedure like that done, you better get it done by somebody who knows what they're doing. And I guess it's something that's usually it's no problem. I've heard people say that 99% of the time it's done without any problem. But guess what? 1% of the time, that's the risk he took. And it was a bad time of the year to take that risk.
John Fetko, you're a big dry needling guy, right? Tell me what your thoughts are on all of this.
I think it's going to be insane if the Steelers don't make the playoffs because there's a dry needle controversy, and that's exactly what could happen. I mean, if the Steelers lose this game, it's going to be because T.J. Watt is in this game, and so it's going to be because of whoever this crazy person who stuck this needle in him did. It was idiotic by T.J. Watt. The only way to describe it is it's idiotic. If you had the ability to suffer a punctured lung and you're a pro football player, you got to say no to that procedure, okay? So he's stupid. Let me be the first to say it. T.J. Watt is. You don't do whatever this procedure is. It wasn't worth the risk. Was it? He's got a punctured lung. I don't know what dry needling is, but don't do it. How's that for medical advice?
Well, you're not a doctor, John, but you always played one on TV.
I don't need to be a doctor. He's got a punctured lung.
No, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you.
It's stupid. I don't care what it is.
He screwed up. The guy administering the needle screwed up. The Steelers screwed up. The Steelers screwed up if they encouraged him to do it or allowed him to do it.
I agree with it. But T.J. Watt screwed up.
Even worse.
I have two pro athlete sons, and we talk about this all the time. They could say no. He could have said no. He's stupid. He shouldn't have done it.
Yep.
He's got a punctured lung now. You had to know that was a possibility before you did it. If you're letting guys stick needles in you and you don't know what the possibilities are, you're stupid right there. And I know his brother's tweeting out, we're going to the NFLPA, whatever. Hey, Watts, don't let him throw needles in you for whatever that is. I'm dead serious.
Yeah,
and they may miss the playoffs because of this. I blame T.J. Watt. He could have said,
it's his body.
No, I'm not. Yeah. I blame him. There's no other way.
He's the one who allowed it to happen.
I don't trust doctors. I don't trust them. You're not throwing something in. I didn't get those stupid COVID shots. You're not throwing stuff in me unless I'm positive it's safe. Just like with the COVID shots, not a chance. Am I getting it, or is my family? So it's T.J. Watt. It's not the Steelers. It's not the doctor who was an idiot. I blame T.J. Watt. And that's why his brother's out there running interference for him. His brother's out there, we're going to go to the NFLPA. Hey, tell your stupid brother not to put needles in him. Have I made myself clear on this?
From your words to God's ears, John.
There you go.
I'm not going to argue with you.
Look, it is an interesting perspective that John brings up. The player has to make this decision, right, knowing that Tyrod Taylor a few years ago had the exact same thing done to him, and what happened? He missed 4 weeks. Yeah. Missed 4 weeks of play. So right, we're quick to rush to blame who may have done this to him, but maybe we're not thinking about. We don't know who did it. We don't know who did it, and that's.
T.J. Watt could have said no. I don't know. Ray, no. You just said, Jerry. We want to talk about this. Let's talk about it. You just said you didn't know what dry needling is. Like it's just like in Major League Baseball, I have two sons playing pro baseball. There's players taking steroids. Oh, trust me. But my sons will never do it because there's that shot you're going to get caught. You just don't do it, okay? You don't do it. T.J. Watt's an idiot. All I do is read about dry needling for a half an hour, and I said to myself, why is this guy doing this? How stupid can you be? It's not the Steelers' fault. It's not the doctor's fault. It's T.J. Watt's fault. Well, don't let him throw a needle in your chest.
I love to argue with you, John. I love to argue with you, but in this case, I have to agree with you. That's kind of boring. I'd rather argue.
It's his fault. He's stupid. Get tougher. What do you mean you put? I don't know. What does it make you do? Recover faster? Get tougher. What do you mean they're throwing needles in your? We got a punctured lung, man.
Yeah.
Blame these athletes. Just like the guy, if you take steroids, you get caught. You're stupid. I'm just telling you, they make the decision.
Well, what's it mean to the game?
My opinion.
You're right, John. But what's it mean to the game tonight? Like I said, I think T.J. Watt is a pretty good guy in that run defense. And there's other guys. There's Sawyer. There's Herbig, and there's of course Highsmith. All those guys are good outside linebackers who can step in and do the same thing Watt has done this season. Watt has not been great this year. He's been good, but he's not been special. He had that big strip sack in the Bears game that led to a touchdown. He ended up losing to the Bears anyway. So I think that the secondary is going to have to step up and make some plays. They're going to have to put a pass rush on Tua. Force him in the third and longs where that running game is not going to be a factor. And if the running game is a factor and they get 5 and 6 yards on first and second down, the Steelers are in trouble because Tua doesn't want to throw in this cold weather.
Well, the one thing about TJ Watt is he is incredible in those, splash play turnover plays. And the Steelers defense, that's how they live, man. They live and die with these huge turnover plays. So to have him not involved is a huge factor just from that perspective. And again, we've already talked about Tua was one of the big turnover quarterbacks, and this game's going to probably turn on turnovers. You want to get Tua to be able to throw the ball, because if the Dolphins are running the balls for first downs, the Steelers are going to lose. They're going to lose.
The key is Highsmith and Herbig. If Highsmith and Herbig step up and make plays, whether in the run defense or in the pass rush, the Steelers can win. If they don't, if they play just average or below average, they're going to lose. And that's the key to winning this game, is those two guys right there, Highsmith and Herbig.
I totally agree. It's everybody else is going to have to play better. And again, we're waiting for Harmon. I mean, if Harmon is not playing, now you're down two really big players on a big play defense in a must-win.
James Pierre.
Yeah, well, you're exactly right. James Pierre is a giant loss.
And the Dolphins are healthy. That's the other thing.
You are absolutely right about that, too.
Achane has a little bit of beat up, but he's going to play, and he's going to be probably be at least close to 100%.
I mean, we heard our Canadian friend, and he was a great guest, and he brought up some great points of why he likes the Dolphins to win this game. But again, I'm going to counter that with, I think the weather, despite what Jerry thinks, I think the weather is a huge factor. It's going to slow down the speed of the Dolphins just a little bit. And I think I'm taking the better quarterback. When all things are kind of equal and everything's crazy and who's playing, who's not, I'm just taking the better quarterback. And Aaron Rodgers is way better than Tua.
Dylan Green wants to know if anybody mentioned the Steelers' tush push last week against Baltimore. It was the best it has looked to date. I guess. I mean, look, that play is something.
Let's talk about the offensive line, because I think the Steelers' offensive line, even with all the injuries and Broderick Jones and everything,
I
think they've played great. I think overall
they played good, John. You used the word great too often. I mean,
considering all the craziness that's been involved there and how young they are, I think they've really done well. They've done a pretty good job protecting Rodgers. They've done a really good job of, on the run game. I think Warren and Gainwell have both been really critical, and their offensive line's helping them. So these are two similar teams. They're both teams that run the ball. They do yaks. They throw these short passes, and then they're like runs. And I'm concerned about Warren tonight, too. I mean, if Warren has a really bad case of the flu, that's another huge loss. And I know Gainwell's great, and he really is great. And maybe Hayward gets some carries now. It's going to be
Caleb Johnson. How about Caleb Johnson?
Caleb Johnson.
Yeah.
I mean, now, and you got these new receivers coming in. This is a wild card game, man. Yeah, but again, that's why I'm coming down to the weather and the quarterbacks. I just cannot see the Dolphins winning this game. I can't see it. I don't care how many guys are out for the Steelers. I can't, Jerry. I just can't see them winning it. And it's a must win for the Dolphins. They lose this game, over. Season's over.
Yeah, it is. I really do. I agree with you, because then your concern is if they go to Detroit next week and then lose.
Now the Dolphins.
Yeah. Oh, you're talking about the Dolphins. Sorry about that. They're done if they lose.
John,
for sure.
If the Steelers lose, they could still win it because they'll have the they'll have the two game tiebreaker over Baltimore.
But they better beat Detroit if they lose tonight.
Well,
and Cleveland's not a gimme. Right, Cleveland may not be a gimme in Cleveland. Let's just be honest.
I think Cleveland's a gimme.
But then you got to beat Baltimore, and Baltimore is 6 out of 8.
Right.
Baltimore not that big. They took care of the Bengals yesterday.
Yeah.
24-0. That great
Baltimore looked good.
Cincinnati Bengals offense. They were horrible yesterday.
Baltimore looked really good.
He was not interested anymore.
And Baltimore looked good, Jerry. And their defense started out the season horrific, and it looks like they kind of turned a corner. They played great defensively yesterday, obviously, and Lamar did just enough, with a conservative game, but he made some good throws. Didn't make a lot of them, but Baltimore. That's going to be the Sunday night game. It's penciled in. And they haven't moved it yet, but that will be. That's going to be the game. Winners in, losers out. There's no doubt that's what it's coming down to.
I have a question for you, John. And John, they don't flex these games anymore. Why is this?
Well, they have
in the Dolphins a Monday night game.
There was a flex, I think, for this coming weekend. Look, all the parties have to be involved. All the networks have to be involved as well. I mean,
that last Sunday game hasn't been announced yet, has it? The last weekend?
No, that's to be determined. It's been to be determined since the beginning of the season. If it comes down to it, most likely it'll be that way. I would think it'll either be a 4:25 or an 8:50. It'll be a Sunday night game. likely, especially if it comes down to the division.
I'm surprised with all the great games that were played yesterday, why they didn't flex one of those to tonight and put the Steelers and the Dolphins, two teams that are barely 500 or under 500, to put them in a 1 o'clock Sunday game that nobody cares about.
I don't know, Jerry.
Buffalo would have been a good game.
Yesterday was a great day for the NFL. I mean, the second half of the doubleheader was two
Green
great
Bay
games.
Denver game,
two huge games going on at the same time. But and even last night's game was big. But this is a playoff. This is a great game right here. This is a playoff game. This is a flat out playoff game. I mean, not so much
because we're in Pittsburgh. I don't think there's a lot of people outside Pittsburgh interested in this game.
Yeah, the Steelers. The Steelers nation, Jerry. There's a lot of people interested in this game.
Well,
there's a lot of people.
Jerry, I can tell you right now, there's a lot of people interested in this game across the country.
John Phillips
internationally.
Right.
I
There's
mean,
a lot.
Come on, and that's why the league's involved with all of these organizations now, because they know since back in the 70s when Jimmy the Greek Snyder was talking about the lines on CBS on Sunday mornings, right, during the pregame shows, the league knows that its popularity has always been tied to sports betting. There's definitely an interest in the game. It'll be viewed by 10, 12, 13 million people tonight, which television number wise in this day and age is better than it has been. We've got Steel City Sunday previewing the Steelers and Miami Dolphins, Acrisure Stadium. We'll be on the air till about 7:30 tonight. Mike Oste is going to join us in the 7 o'clock hour. In the meantime, we've got Jerry DePaula and John Fedko probably for another 15 minutes or so, and we'll let these two gentlemen get along their evenings here. We talked a little bit briefly about Aaron Rodgers. He had a really nice game last week. DK Metcalf, who had, where has DK Metcalf been last week? All that talk, boom, all of a sudden he shows up on the first play, and they had great chemistry, and that was a big reason why offensively. I think if the Steelers have any chance tonight, they have to have more of that chemistry offensively. I don't know what I'm going to get from the defense from week to week. I've seen at times what this offense can provide. I think that's a big component to tonight's game. John Fedko, we'll start with you.
Well, I love the aggressiveness last week. You saw it coming out of the game, starting at the game and then the start of the second half. They go long, they go deep to Metcalf. Now the Dolphins are going to be ready for that. That doesn't mean the Steelers can't do it. I mean, DK Metcalf, had an unbelievable game last week. And again, aggressive play calling, and the problem is the weather out there. Now I don't know about the wind, but it's tough to be throwing bombs when it's
the wind won't be a factor tonight.
It's slowing down. Yeah, it's slowing down.
But I don't think the wind's going to be critical when it comes to kicking. Okay, so I don't think it's swirling out there. I don't think it's howling. But yeah, they've got to go downfield to Metcalf again. I mean, they got to at least try.
You can't think and dunk all night. You got to throw the ball down the field
and they did last week.
Opens up the running game, opens up your short passing game. It opens up everything if you can hit some deep shots, and that's how they beat Baltimore. And they got to do the same thing tonight. But they got to protect Rodgers. To throw those deep passes, your quarterback needs a little extra time, a few more seconds. And if that offensive line doesn't give him those few more seconds, forget it. It's not going to work.
Yeah, we're going to go back to again. I at least want to go back to again. It's the obvious thing, but a lot of times, you can't overanalyze everything. I love my Canadian guy that was on. He's like, I'm thinking to myself, this guy's under. Don't overanalyze it. Let's take a look at the obvious things. You got Aaron Rodgers, who made his living in Green Bay. This is nothing to Aaron Rodgers. He's been through this a million times. He's played through these conditions. He probably loves playing these conditions because he thinks he has an edge. And then you got Tua, who's 0 for 8,000 in under 40 degrees. The guy's never won a game under 40 degrees. And we can all laugh about that. We can say he's a football player. He's a human being. And you're going to see it tonight. He's going to probably make mistakes. It's going to be brutal out there, man. And I know they can come back to the heat on the sidelines. But when they hit that ground, man, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt every ounce of your body. They're human beings. I just love the edge of quarterback in this weather type situation. So to me, that is a huge factor.
Maybe the key, John, is to hit him early. Put a pass rush on him, put him on the ground a few times early, and then he gets a little skitchy in the pocket, and he's not as solid as he needs to be.
And I think
the pass rush.
Listen, the Dolphins are playing well, and they're playing well because they've been running the ball really, really well. So the Dolphins know that they're not going to they're going to try everything in their power to not have Tua have to go back to pass. Everything in their power.
That's why the Steelers might lose, because they can't stop the run.
They have to stop the run. If the
Right.
Steelers don't stop, if this becomes the Buffalo game, I mean, it's a blowout. I mean, this cannot be the Buffalo game redone, where the Bills have resurrected O.J. Simpson and they're running for like 800
And the Bills weren't the
yards
only
one
team to
half.
run well against the Steelers. The Bengals did it, and the Ravens did it.
And Buffalo. So
Buffalo too. That's why I'm worried about tonight. I'm not worried, but I think
you should be worried about
You
it.
should be worried.
You should
100%.
be
You
worried
should
about
be
it.
I'm not
worried.
worried. They win or lose. I'm still gonna get
Well,
up
I know,
tomorrow
but I mean,
morning and continue my retirement.
Steelers fans should be worried about it. We've seen total collapses at home this year. But again, I'm going back to just the obvious. You got Tua, who can't win under 40 degrees. You got Aaron Rodgers, who can win at 10 degrees. I'm just going with the obvious. That's why the Steelers are going to win.
Yeah,
Right
okay.
there, the
Smell test.
right there.
You're going with the smell test. That's
I'm
fine.
the obvious.
Right. I don't
I'll be
disagree
right.
with that thought. No.
I'll be
It's the Occam's razor, right? That's the type of theory does play out. I wouldn't disagree with that necessarily. My concern, like anything else, is this defense. My concern is this defense. You don't know what you're getting week to week. You still don't know. I don't think we've seen inactives yet. I'm looking at everybody's
I don't think we'll get him
timeline.
with 7, John. You'll get him on the.
And that's
I think you'll get him at 7.
Yeah, and that's fine. And so, even if you're getting Derek Harmon, you're not getting Derek Harmon at 100%.
Right. That's right.
Right. You know what I mean? And so this is, again, the methodical look of the Miami Dolphins offense. They have not put Tua in these bad spots the last 5 weeks, right? They have a very good quality win against Buffalo. You talk about common opponents, and you talk about the second half breakdowns, Green Bay and the Bills game certainly, and the Seattle game come to mind for Pittsburgh. Very, very concerned about the game right now. I'm looking at the weather. It's going to feel probably close to single digits, spike close to kickoff, but nonetheless, if Miami can get into some sort of rhythm offensively, I don't know what this Steelers defense is going to do to stop it, because they haven't really stopped anybody most of the season as it is. So, yeah, this is a concern, Jerry DePaula.
Why they're 7-6, because they can't stop the run. They're inconsistent on defense. Derek Harmon is a big part of that. And if they can't stop the run, they're not going to win. And that's what happened in Buffalo. The Buffalo game, the Baltimore game, they didn't stop the run that well, even though they won the game. In Cincinnati the first time. It's a shame that they can't stop the run better, because they drafted a guy in the first round to stop the run. Now he's hurt, and they really don't have enough depth to counteract that injury. And now they got T.J. Watt, who I think is as good a run defender as anybody on the team, maybe one of the best, and he's not going to play tonight. So that's why I'm saying forget the weather. It's the personnel on the field that are going to decide the game, and I think the Dolphins, who are healthy, might have a better personnel right now if they can withstand the cold. And I know John believes that the cold has a big factor. I think these guys have all played in cold weather before, high school and college. It's not going to be that big a deal.
Yeah, but I think you got a quarterback who's a turnover machine in Tua, and the cold will affect him just a little bit. And you got a Steelers defense. That's how they make their living, on turnovers. Even without T.J. Watt, even without Harmon, they still are. They turn the ball over. They're great at it. The Steelers defense is great at forcing turnovers, and when they don't force turnovers, they lose.
They lose.
If
right.
the Steelers, the Steelers lose the turnover battle tonight, they're going to lose the game. They got to win the turnover, but they're up against a quarterback who's a turnover machine. So to me, that's going to be the key of the game. The Steelers will win the turnover battle. They'll force Tua in at least 2 turnovers. And whether Harmon plays or not, we know Watt's not playing. I still think that the Steelers have enough big play guys left on defense. That's how they do it. They'll somehow force two turnovers and win. And I don't think Rodgers will turn the ball over. And we saw Rodgers last week. We thought, well, how's this wrist injury going to hurt him? Well, it didn't hurt him at all. In fact, he caught a pass, or supposedly caught a pass. At least they ruled it was a caught pass. But whatever.
He's playing with a lot of passion. He really is. Rodgers.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah.
So I'm giving the edge to the Steelers because the quarterbacks. It's that simple.
They definitely have an advantage at the quarterback position. I think that's hard to argue. But again, I look at this defense, and my concern is Mike Tomlin in these scenarios where they're coming off this emotional win where nobody gave them a chance, and in classic Mike Tomlin fashion, they go out and they win the game. Now they're coming home and they've got all this momentum, and everybody's feeling good. Given the last 2 weeks where there was all kinds of angst and anger and let's get Tomlin and all kinds of bad blood and social media lit up on fire for a period of time, this is where they blow games like this.
But you know what, John, how can they have?
Go ahead, Jerry.
How can they have so much momentum if they're number one? They're 7-6 and they have so many injuries. It seems to me that saps your momentum. You're inconsistent. Yeah, you win one, you lose one. You win one, you lose one. You never know what's going to happen from week to week. And now they got key players out. But I think the momentum factor after winning one game against Baltimore, goes out the window.
Okay, so let's talk about Tomlin. Okay, let's turn some attention to Tomlin. So we all three of us here have lived the Mike Tomlin era. I lived the Chuck Noll era until the whole Bill Cowher era. So here's the deal. We all know what Tomlin does. He loses playoff games. Okay, but we also know what Tomlin does. He wins big regular season games at home. We talked about this. Again, my previous lock was the Indy game. And John, you agreed with me. I'll give you credit. I said, these are the games Tomlin wins. He's going to win this Indy game. Is he going to blow the first playoff game? Of course. Is he going to win this Indy game? Yes. Does Mike Tomlin win on Monday night at home? I would say the answer to that is yes. He's undefeated. So I'm going with the obvious Mike Tomlin factor. Mike Tomlin has never lost a Monday night game at home. He's going to lose in the playoffs like he always does. They're never going to fire him, but he's going to go over 500 again. And all the national media is going to say he's the greatest coach that ever lived, and they got to build statues of him every 5 yards in Pittsburgh. He's going to win this game. These are the games Mike Tomlin wins. He's going to win this game.
John,
when we're doing the pregame show with Houston, I'm going to be screaming, he's going to lose this game. And Art Rooney II will say, I love him, and give him a 10-year extension. That's just the way it is. We all live in Pittsburgh. That's what we got to live with. Mike Tomlin forever, playoff losses forever.
All right.
That's it. How much more analysis do you need, Johnny?
It's the best. Go ahead, Jerry. If you could follow that up, please do so, because I can't.
Well, you know what? He's not wrong. John's not wrong. Tomlin does not lose Monday night games at home. Okay,
He doesn't.
The Steelers don't lose Monday night games. What would you say? Back in 1991?
91. That was
Tomlin,
the last.
they lost a Monday night game.
That was
at home.
Bill Cowher. I'm sorry. That was Chuck Noll.
That was
Chuck Noll. Cowher was 92. That was Chuck Noll. Cowher's first year was 92, right? So that was
those variables are on the Steelers side, but the personnel and the football, not this things, these stats we take out of the air. The personnel is what wins games, and I just think the Dolphins, with better health,
the coach has something to do with it.
Have better personnel than the Steelers.
The coach has something to do with it. And Mike Tomlin is really, really good at some things, and he's really good at winning Monday night home games. He's really good at it. Give him a lifetime contract because he always wins Monday night at home, and he's going to win again tonight. He's going to win it tonight, and all the national media is going to – Ryan Clark's going to be out there saying he's the greatest coach that ever lived. Just put him in the Hall of Fame and put the statue right out front. That's what Ryan Clark will lead with tomorrow.
He's going to be in the Hall of Fame. He'll be
that and Cam Newton should have been the quarterback of choice by the Indianapolis Colts. All right. Okay. Just a couple more minutes with Jerry DePaula and John Fedko. Steel City Sunday continues to roll on. Our audience has grown. We're almost at 2,000 viewers. I love it. We're growing this program. We're going to get bigger and bigger every single week. In the meantime, Jerry DePaula, let's talk predictions before we let you go and bring Mike Ostie on. What do you see happening tonight, Jerry? What's your final score prediction?
Real quick, I want to say before I forget, a big night tonight for the Avonworth football team. They're going to be honored at the game tonight. My grandsons will be there. Jack and Aiden, the freshman cornerbacks will be there, braving the elements, sitting out in the cold. Their grandpap will be home trying to stay warm, but give the Admirals will be honored tonight by the Steelers. Give the Steelers a lot of credit for bringing those guys down there tonight after they won WPIL and state championships. But as far as my prediction, 23-20 Miami.
Okay, John Fedko.
The great Duke John Core. What a coach for Avonworth.
Duke's a good man.
He is a great man. He's a great coach. I say it with all sincerity. The Mighty Lopes.
He's your classmate, right, John Phillips? He was your classmate in high school?
Graduated first class at Woodland Hills High School, 1988.
There you go. He's a good
awesome,
man.
John. Johnny, I was at Channel 11, 1988. I mean, you were watching. You're a young man. I'm an old man. My prediction, pain. One of the great quotes of all time from Rocky III.
Club Away.
That's one of the great.
Yeah, there you go.
My prediction.
Great reference, John. Great reference. Yeah.
But there is going to be pain because it's going to be really painful to be tackled in that crazy field. Again, I'm going to go with the obvious, the John Fedko obvious analysis. Who needs the crazy $1 million salary guys on Fox for analysis? Here's the analysis this game. It's going to be cold. The Dolphins can't win in the cold. Their quarterback can't play in the cold. And the Steelers are the better quarterback. Steelers win 20-10.
One more prediction.
20-10.
One more prediction. Fedko falls asleep before the fourth quarter.
I'm gonna be listening. I'm gonna be listening to Michael Bublé's Christmas album. I don't even know if I'm gonna even watching.
I don't think he's gonna make halftime. He just, you know what he knows? Friday morning, he's gonna wake up. He's gonna turn over. He's gonna say, "Tina," she's gonna go, "Money's already in. The Venmo's there, John."
You'll wake up tomorrow morning. Who won the game? Ask your wife who won the game.
20-10 Steelers, baby. So I like the under. Okay. I like the Steelers that give them the points. Steelers going to win this game. Mike Tomlin never loses Monday night at home.
All right.
I don't know how we don't have 100,000 people watching us every single week with you two.
should.
Jerry DePaula, John Fedko, you guys are the best. Thank you for joining us on the pregame show.
I love you,
My
Jerry.
pleasure. All right, John.
All right, much love.
Enjoy the game. Get a good night's sleep.
Peace and love, as somebody once said.
Richard
All right. No. Ringo Starr said that. That's his favorite
yeah, of course.
thing.
No, but this
Peace
is my
and love,
Richard Nixon.
You're Richard Nixon. All right, there it is. Jerry DePaula, John Fedko. Thank you very much, gentlemen.
Holidays! It's a Christmas tree. I need to get a Christmas tree behind me. How can I not have a Christmas tree up?
I don't know. I don't know. Who's your decorator? Your interior direct
Peace
decorator.
on earth and goodwill to men.
All right, let's get John and Jerry out, and then hopefully we'll have Mike Ossie in here in just a few minutes.
Oh, boy.
Billy, we're going to get these guys out of here. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this, and I'm going to – I can't. Oh, there we go. Now they're being removed. All right, there we go. I want to bring Bill Akins in here because – thanks, gentlemen. Bill.
Yeah. How do I follow up that? Yeah, what am I going to add to this?
I don't know.
Not much.
I hope it's entertaining to the masses that are watching us here. We have a nice crowd. I'm saying I really appreciate everybody that gives us time, that's hanging out with us here. Again, Steel City Sunday, just a brand new pregame show. There's only a handful. We hope you're going to make us a part of your regular routine. We've got more programming that is scheduled throughout the course of the week and on these channels. We are live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Every Steelers pre-game, 4 hours prior to kickoff. 4 hours prior to the last three games, we will be on the air. Next week, it'll be a noon start. We'll be at the North Park Lounge, Richland. They'll be playing the Detroit Lions. Following week, it'll be a little earlier because they'll be in Cleveland. And then, of course, the regular season finale. We'll see what happens there. We hope to have bigger audiences, and we hope that you tell people about us and let them know that they can follow us on all the social media sites at Steel City Sunday. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, X, and TikTok. Live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Wherever you're watching us right now, okay, please come to our channels and give us a follow. If you're on our YouTube channel, not just a follow, but hit the like button and subscribe to us. Help us build our channel as we're just getting started. And by the way, tomorrow on Tuesday at 7 o'clock, I'll host a show. I'm starting to do shows on Mondays and Tuesdays. Okay, on Mondays and Tuesdays, I do an hour at 7 o'clock. Obviously not this week. Pittsburgh Sports Tonight. That's the show on, just an hour. Gives me a chance to talk a little bit. It's been a few years. I love talking to people about sports. Always have. And so that's Tuesday at 7. No guest this week, but I will work on guests for next week's shows on Monday and Tuesday. Wednesday nights at 8 o'clock, it's the Pittsburgh Sports Desk that Bill Akins hosts. Billy's show is 8 o'clock on Wednesday nights, the Pittsburgh Sports Desk, and a cast of several. And on Thursday, it's the Gridiron Weekly. They talk all kinds of football on that show at 8 o'clock. Billy hosts that one as well. And I would be remiss if I didn't thank Matty B and the folks at It's a Wrap Sports. They host us. Those guys are over on this side of the state. I'm in Trenton, New Jersey. If you're wondering why I'm in a bedroom, it's because I'm actually in a hotel room here in Princeton, New Jersey. I got a call this morning at 9:30. And I needed to have some electricians working tomorrow. The day job calls people. It pays the bills. I got in my car. I raced out here. I called Bill and said, hey, go to NPL and get set up. And he is there hanging out tonight. That's why I'm in a hotel room right now. But we're doing the show. We're dedicated to this. The guys are dedicated to doing the show each and every week. We didn't have Zig Fracassi this week, our NFL insider from SiriusXM's NFL Radio. Zig not feeling too good, so he took the night off. But we have a cast of regulars that joins us every week. Every week, Todd Haley, former Steelers offensive coordinator and a former NFL head coach. Every week on our pregame show. Paul Zeiss, longtime writer at the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette. Every week on our pregame show. Mike Osty's going to be joining us here very shortly. Mike, a very solid journalist. He is the managing editor of West Virginia Sports Now, part of the Pittsburgh Sports Now family of websites. He's a national writer for Yardbarker, Pittsburgh native, West Virginia grad, I might add. Broke some big news not too long ago that was all over the place. I think, what was it? It was the buyout. It was the James Franklin buyout. He got the story on that one, and that tweet probably did about 3 million views. For Mike, he's a good journalist and a great writer, and he'll be on board with us here in just a few minutes to take us into our third hour. Ethan is King 84 on YouTube. Did you miss Todd Haley? Yes, Todd Haley joins us usually in the first hour of all of our pregames. I try to put him and Paul together. It makes for great entertaining talk, and that's why John and Jerry are so animated and fun. But yeah, Todd Haley usually on early in our broadcast. It tends to work out that way. We are Steel City Sunday live pregame show. I'm John Phillips. Real happy you could be joining us. Bill Akins, anything you want to add?
No, I mean the only thing I want to add is they've got to stop Devon A-Chain. Is it Devin or is it Devon? I guess it's Devon.
It is Devon A-Chain.
Yeah, they got to stop him. I mean,
they got to stop Waddle too. If they throw the ball, Jalen Waddle's gonna be an issue for them.
They're gonna look to overcome the Watt factor. The Dolphins.
I just think they're gonna be able to run the ball. I just don't see much. What of this defense tells you that they're going to be able to stop this running attack tonight?
Nothing, because I saw what Chase Brown did against them some weeks back. But yeah, nothing. There's nothing that tells me they're going to be able to stop him. Stop that.
I don't disagree with that. Mike Osty has jumped into the back studio here, and we'll be getting him on here in just a few seconds. Mike, as I had mentioned, a pro's pro. I like Mike. He has built himself a real nice career. You can read his stuff on Pittsburgh Sports Now, West Virginia Sports Now, Yardbarker. You can hear him on SiriusXM from time to time. We'll get Mike on in just a few moments, and we'll have the mic drop as we break into hour number 3. We'll probably wrap this up around 7:15, 7:20 this evening. I think 3.5 hours is enough, and you'll want to get yourself prepared to watch the Steelers and the Miami Dolphins. And with that being said, we'll get Mike Osty on board, and we'll get his thoughts on tonight's game between the Dolphins and the Steelers. Mike, good evening, sir. How you doing?
How are you? I'm doing well.
I'm applying to be your agent, as if you couldn't already tell.
I was going to say the check will be in the mail. Maybe I'll have to
Do you
throw
need a
it back when
PR?
you Venmo
You
me.
need a PR team. I'm happy to apply.
Yeah, I'll give you a cut. You can be my agent. You can be my hype man. You can be my Flavor Flav. Any of that works.
Oh,
Yeah, you're doing a great job so far. You make me sound phenomenal. So
well,
I'm all about it.
You do enough of that on your own. I will say that much.
And that's true, and other people would probably agree. So they probably like John inflates Mike's tires a little bit too much.
You know, it's so funny. I got into a spat with somebody about you last week. I don't know if you noticed any of that or not.
I did not see the on social media.
Yes, on X. Look, I don't have enough time for my. I hate to say this. I don't have enough time for my wife and kids as it is. I even have less time for my social medias, which I'm supposed to be, putting out content 30, 40 times a day. And I can barely get a couple tweets out here and there.
I hear that. No, I did not see that at all. You have to let me know who
somebody
that was.
out there doesn't like you, Mike, and I was defending you. Let's just put it to you that way.
So a random fan or somebody we know?
Who knows? Some lunatic on X who.
Oh, well, I have plenty of lunatics that follow me for sure. They might be watching and listening right now. So hello.
They probably are. They apparently thought that the account that I run is run by you, and for a while it was but
of course.
All right. Enough of that dribble. What do you think about tonight's game? Let's start with your thoughts. Let's start with your thoughts on TJ Watt and the whole dry needling thing. That was a bizarre left turn in this wild season.
It's very, very bizarre. It's very fitting to this season. And the caveat here is I'm not a doctor. I've not had that procedure done. I know others have claimed to have that procedure done that are in Pittsburgh media, so maybe they can touch on it better. But it's a weird scenario, to say the very, very least. It's an odd scenario that also, in a way, happened, if it's ever going to happen, at the best possible week, because to play Monday Night Football allowed this to be a possibility. Even, I mean, what that news hit, I think Tuesday and Wednesday last week. If it was a Sunday game, certainly a Thursday game, wouldn't even have been a discussion all through the week. But yeah, I mean, it's a serious thing. He's obviously an impact player, separate from the medical issue. TJ Watt, Cam Hayward, etc. The defense hasn't been good enough. They've been underachieving this year. He's not been good enough this year. But obviously, you want full health for him, and his personal health is more important than playing a football game, and more important than the season. That's an actual personal health matter. But it was very, very weird. And when I heard it, I was, kind of confused how this could occur, especially with a fine-tuned athlete like that and having so many team doctors involved. It just seemed like something that you can't let occur. But we'll see what happens, I guess.
Fedco brought up an interesting point. We're quick to blame whoever did what they did and maybe made a mistake.
Right.
TJ Watt has a role in all of this. Did he need to? Again, look, it happened to Tyrod Taylor a few years ago, but I guess this practice is more common than
That's what I mean. It's pretty common, and as I've never had it done, but I don't know if you saw it. There were even colleagues in Pittsburgh media that said they have had this done. So I don't think.
Do you remember who? Just out of curiosity, did anybody in particular?
I don't know if you want me to name drop. I know Dunlap said he had it done. 100%.
Okay,
that's one. Well, you asked for the name.
I know I did, and of course it was that one. But go ahead.
But I know he had. Well, the point of it is that it's more common than you think. So we know somebody personally that had it done that's not in the NFL. So that just goes to show that, yes, there's more athletes than you would imagine that have had this done. There are just regular people out in this world that are not in the NFL that have had this done. So that tells me this is more common than you would think. And yes, my mind immediately went to, why did this have to happen now? If it did happen now, then yes, you're going to blame the doctor. It's an interesting point by Fedco, but I also don't know what the comeback would be from TJ Watt. He probably would say he never dreamed this would be the issue. He probably had talked to his brother. He probably have had other people that have had this done before. His brother probably told him, go ahead, it's totally fine. And, he went ahead. I mean,
yeah, there you go.
Aside from my medical degree that I don't have, but yeah, I mean, we'll see, because the issue again is with him 100%, with Cam Hayward 100%, with this defense supposedly fixed in the offseason, and whether you believe they really were in win now mode or it was a mirage, like I mentioned, Alan Saunders argues it's a mirage, and it really was. But no matter what you believe, they still made moves in the offseason for the defense to be better. And even if it was a mirage, the defense should not have been as bad as it's been at different points this year. If it was not for this defense, even with the offense having their issues, they probably would have a couple more wins and not be in this situation where they're basically in must-win games, certainly against the team here on Monday Night Football with a similar record in their conference. And the defense has been allowing yards. They've been back of the league in yards allowed. In games they do win, thanks to the defense, it's because of turnovers. A lot of the time sacks from TJ Watt. So it could be an impact situation, but whether or not he should have had it done at all, or whether it's the doctor, I guess it's, either way, I don't think anyone would have thought that would be the scenario. And if this game was not Monday Night Football, I don't think it would even have been a conversation this past week in terms of any chance of him playing, because at the time of the news, it was that he's in the hospital, but maybe could play. The words "in the hospital, but maybe could play in a few days" is already kind of unsettling. Like, in the hospital,
Right.
It's not like he's home and he's recovering and it's all done. In the hospital still, that definitely would have been a no-go for Sunday.
Do we know what his status is right now? Like, do we even know? I've been so busy. I'm wrapped up. I'm not gonna lie.
I'm gonna double check here.
Not for the game. I'm just saying, like, where are we at with him? Has anybody even said anything like today? Have you heard any news? I have not. I was racing across Pennsylvania.
No, I mean, it's most of it is he's expected to return before the end of the year. Most of it is it's not expected to be too serious. Most of it is the speculation on our conversation now. It doesn't seem like anyone has a definitive why this had to occur. But him not being there, it's obviously an issue because he's TJ Watt and he's a great impact player who can step it up at any moment. But it's not like we've been getting the same TJ Watt of old when he was vying for Defensive Players of the Year awards. He's had a little bit of a down year, and this is a team that's not a world beater that you maybe could beat anyway. We'll see. We'll get into that, I guess, here, John, but I don't personally think that much of Miami. So it depends on how high you are in Miami. And of course, the Steelers can lose to anybody, and their offense has to give them more than they've been getting at different times. But yeah, it does not appear to be anything too severe. There were people talking about the day of the announcement that it even could have been career threatening. That clearly appears to be cart before the horse there. And by the way, the article that I saw expected to return this season is from the PG. So that's a credible spot. But there's not too much in the last few days. No, this has not been. It's mostly here's what's been going on. Here's the speculation. It's hard for anyone to really blame a fault that somebody obviously is at fault. And then we'll see how it actually impacts the team. But again, the defense has been underwhelming all year regardless.
Mark Cabali tweeting, no Derek Harmon tonight for the Steelers.
Okay.
So there you go. So there's that news. And Jaylen Warren is practicing in pregame warmups.
I saw Warren.
So that, but the real big news is obviously Harmon. Cabali saying he's not going to play, it looks like. So that's a big one. That is a big one right there.
Yeah. I mean, arguably even more than Watt based on performance. So, I mean,
without a doubt.
100%
based on performance.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's hard to see. I threw arguably in because it's TJ Watt who's going to the Hall of Fame. So at any moment he could turn it back on and be what he was a couple years ago. Like you had imagined there's the possibility of that at any moment. But based on performance this year, for sure, it's a big deal. And these are the ways the Dolphins can win this game. And not that they're that much worse of a team. Obviously, the records are still similar and they've been picking it up as of late. So they've kind of, been on a hot streak. But when you have a Steelers team that's depleted, I mean, are they going to be able to force turnovers? Are they going to be able to create a pass rush, which is a gigantic deal? Can Miami get a big playoff or two, which they're going to try? And then can the Steelers, we've been talking about this for weeks, can the Steelers get a semblance of a run game to make life easier for Aaron Rodgers under center? He's an older quarterback. He's not going to throw for 400 yards and four TDs to win you games like he might have done 10 years ago. He needs a run game to set up the pass, set up the big plays, and help out everybody. And that's been hot and cold this year.
We've got Mike Osty joining us for his weekly spot on the mic drop. Mike, of course, managing editor of West Virginia Sports Now, part of the Pittsburgh Sports Now family of websites, national writer for Yardbarker, and of course can be heard on Sirius XM. Aaron Rodgers looked crisp. DK Metcalf woke last week. Big game for them. My contention at this point is the run game, you just can't trust it. Steelers run game, I should say. You just don't know what you're going to get. Obviously with Warren, questionable. I know that, Kenneth Gainwell has played well this year, but can he carry the ball 20 times is the real question. Probably not. Caleb Johnson.
They need all hands on deck.
Yeah, it is all hands on deck, which means you've got no real running game, which means you got to hope that Aaron Rodgers has another big game this week to keep you in a game where you might need to have high octane passing, because if anything Miami has done over the last 6 weeks, it is effectively run the football and keep possession of the clock. I mean, look at the Bills game. They had the ball for nearly 42 minutes.
Yeah, and that's a game that it's insane that they were able to pull off. But, doing that to the Bills, and the Bills are able to pick it up as of late and had the win over New England when it looked like they really were kind of, going to continue to fade as they're still vying for the division title. But this Dolphins team is a team that I entered the year not thinking much of. They don't totally scare me right now. I thought Mike McDaniel should have been fired weeks ago. I thought Tua was kind of, somebody that be hard pressed to see him last the full season. And yet Miami is in this situation right now at 6-7, that if they win this game, they're very much in the thick of things. Hey, John, I mean, they're on the graphic for the national networks as quote unquote in the hunt. I mean, that's a major win for them. Again, a month ago, all their fans, myself, others were all out on Mike McDaniel. I was arguing that he might be the most overrated coach of the last several years. He had that one run early in his tenure, not much since then. He's this young offensive guru, but the points weren't being scored. Like, what are we doing here? And then now it appears they're going to power through. They're going to power through. He might be around next year based on what's going on this year. And they're able to put points up no matter how they get them. And yes, they like to ground and pound. They like to establish the clock game and churn the clock. And if the Steelers offense starts slow, like we've seen it start slow before, and the Dolphins can churn the clock and get a score or two, and then you are missing some players defensively, and maybe you're not getting a pass rush, and the Steelers can't churn the clock because they have no running game to speak of, then you could get into a bit of an issue here. Again, I wouldn't be shocked if Miami wins. I don't think they're that great. I think they are very vulnerable and are beatable. And this is a game, of course, the Steelers have to win with the Ravens winning and the games coming up, but you just can't afford to be dropping any more games, especially at home and especially in these frigid temperatures. I mean, obviously this is, players are all from all over the country. They're not born in Florida, but it's a team that plays their home games in Miami coming to Pittsburgh on December 15th. And last I checked the weather, 7, 8, 9, something like that. I mean, I know they were here the other day. I know they got up there and practiced in the snow. I know they came earlier. They're trying to, feel out the winter wonderland and have it not be an issue in this game, but it still could be. They're not used to it on a regular basis. So it'll depend on what the Steelers get offensively. And if the defense can bend, but not break too much, you'd have to imagine it's hard to expect Rodgers to go out there and throw 303 TDs and say there's no running game and we're still going to win if you're the Steelers. But it's hard for me to imagine a running game can happen.
Well, the running game, it's a big question mark, right? All of this is a big question mark. I just at this point right now, man, I don't like their chances tonight. I really don't. Now that you've got this news now that Harmon's not in, that's
a
play.
Different situation. 100%.
It is.
That's a big
I don't
deal.
disagree. I don't disagree. But right now, it's
Steelers
an up and down week every week.
Steelers are at home,
and they haven't lost under Mike Tomlin on Monday nights, and the cold weather and all of this stuff, but. No TJ Watt, now no Derek Harmon. They have not played well when Harmon hasn't been in there. They've given up a ton of yards running the football. It's a very ugly scenario right now. And it's just, again, it goes to this yo-yo where we're every week. It's the most bizarre season. I said this in the pregame. Early
there's been some bizarre seasons, though. There's been some bizarre seasons.
But this has been really, I mean, in memory, in 19 years, I can't remember one being this this up and down the way it is.
I was going to say
I just
bizarre. I
can't.
used to go to the stadium and hit up the press box with people wearing duck heads. I mean, we had the Duck and Mason season when Ben got hurt in 2019.
Right.
There's been some, obviously, the end of Antonio Brown. There's been some wacky seasons for sure for the Steelers, the one that ended up losing in the playoffs to Jacksonville. But this is right up there, yeah, in terms of drama, in terms of weirdness. And the weird part about this is, John, most of the weird season for the Steelers are either off of a key injury like Ben or off drama, usually from a wide receiver.
Right.
This has been a season where, yeah, we've had key injuries, but George Pickens isn't there. Antonio Brown's long gone. It's not like one individual player is causing drama. It's just weird things occur every single week, and it's more of a tipping point conversation on Mike Tomlin than we've had in years, to where even members of the national media are screaming that maybe it's time for a change. And then once people scream that, he gets a big victory, beats a rival, gets a divisional win, has a leg up now in the division. And as much as the Steelers are very vulnerable, and I don't think they're that great and they got weaknesses, this is an easy part of the schedule. The Dolphins have similar problems too. They could easily lose. And John, as much as people are saying the Dolphins have been playing well of late, and they have, after the Buffalo game, look at their schedule. Yeah, they've been getting wins, but after the Buffalo game, they beat the Commanders, they beat the Saints, and they beat the Jets. Yeah. They have beat some really bad teams, and they were all close games except for the Jets game. So they're barely beating some really, really bad teams. It's not like they've been impressing against really great teams aside from the Buffalo. That's really the only college football quality win they have all year. So it does make them vulnerable still to lose this game on the road and have this be part of Mike Tomlin, and team's not that good, but they're going to win. We talked about this at the beginning of the year. Wouldn't it be fitting almost? This team is not really that good. There's tons of weaknesses. Everyone knows it. But watch the Steelers just win the division with 9 or 10 wins because the division just sucks. Like, that almost feels like the season we're about to have unfold here in the final weeks.
I honestly think the NFC South is worse. And that's saying something.
I guess, yeah. I mean, maybe. Well,
not a good division.
No, that's not a good division at all. At all. I mean, you could make an argument. The conference is weaker than it's been in years. I mean, everyone's vulnerable. This is wide open. I'm not predicting this at all. But if you get in and you're Mike Tomlin, you got to laugh, because we've said this too. There could be a weird scenario where this is the worst Steelers team in several years, but this might be the team that wins a playoff game. Just because, depending on the matchup, it is wide open. There's no world beater out there. I'm not predicting it or betting it, but I'm just saying it depends. You got to get healthy. TJ Watt being out, who knows? Like, that's going to be an issue, and they got to get a running game. But this is a wide open conference.
Let's just say, and it is. I don't disagree with you. I'm looking at this. I'm looking at the Jag. I want to look and see what the Jaguars have in the last 3 weeks. They have Broncos, Colts, and Titans.
Well,
so right. Well, look.
Well, for the most part, I guess Broncos is rough.
Well, that will not be an easy game for them, no question. And I'm pretty certain that I just saw that they have that game on the road. So they've got to go to Denver. They got to go to Indy, and then they get the Titans to end the season. They don't have the Texans on their docket. As I look at the Steelers right now, let's just assume if they make the playoffs, it's going to be as the 4th seed. Yeah. You got the Chargers, who they lost to. You got the Bills, who they lost to at home. Yeah. And then you've got a Texans team whose defense is just playing lights out right now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Here's what's wild. Out of those 3 teams, you can make an argument that the Texans would be the worst matchup. People maybe would say Buffalo. I don't want to. Yeah, I mean, maybe people would say Buffalo, but like I would think the Steelers would be better off trying again against the Chargers or Buffalo than dealing with just familiarity, even though they haven't been beating them in recent years. But the Texans is just an animal that what they do. It's almost like what the Texans do is what the Steeler fans want the Steelers to do, but the Steelers are too old and don't have the ability to do it anymore. They're like the younger version of the Steelers that are what maybe they're supposed to be, at least defensively. But yeah, that's a team that maybe could be one of those sneaky teams that wins a conference because it's wide open and maybe they catch a solid matchup or two and they're playing well, especially with that defense. The Chargers are beatable, even though they're good, obviously. And the Bills have appeared very vulnerable since that Steelers game. I mean, they're getting wins, but they let teams boil around and they kind of are vulnerable. But this is supposedly the year with Mahomes and Burrow both not in there.
Chargers have won 6 of 7. Their lone loss was a blowout
Yeah.
at Jacksonville. They got beat up pretty good out there. So, one of those things to kind of consider and think of. Couple more minutes here. 1 or 2 questions for Mike Ossie. We'll let him go, and then we'll bring in Bill Akins, and we'll wrap things up here. I guess now that we know Derek Harmon's out, how much yardage is Devon Achane gonna rack up today? Where does this Miami attack go? Do they try to go outside? Do they try to attack A gaps? I mean, I think the Steelers have shown that they can be beat in any gap this year by a variety of teams.
Here's what's crazy. Normally against the Steelers for years, you always would just lean on, well, you got to try to go outside. You cannot go up the middle. This year, we've seen teams go right up the middle and get through. Well, it sounds crazy. We've seen it. So I'm hard pressed to say that they could do whatever they probably want defensively, and they're probably going to get yards on the ground. And if let's put it this way, John, if the Dolphins do not get yards on the ground, maybe they get blown out, because that's clearly what they want to do. I mean, I'm not picking that to be the case, but I imagine that's what they want to do. That's probably what's going to happen. I imagine they're going to try to, go in every gap imaginable, but live in the A gap, maybe try to do a little bit through the middle. This is a team also that's very, very, hungry, backs against the wall, even more so than Pittsburgh. They're kind of playing with house money a little bit because they kind of rebooted themselves, as I talked about earlier, when the coach was going to get fired, and now all of a sudden they're winning on a hot streak. They may feel more prone to just say, hey, caution with the wind, 4th and 1, let's go. Let's do this repeatedly. It could be one of those games. We'll see. This might be one of those games, John, that if the Steelers don't win, or even if they do, that Mike Tomlin's coaching is going to be heavily scrutinized, because you imagine this is going to be probably close. You imagine this is going to come down to some 3rd and shorts and 4th and shorts, going for it, try to churn the clock on long drives for these teams. Who doesn't turn it over will benefit. And we'll see what decisions Tomlin makes and how aggressive he really is in a game like this. But one thing I guarantee, I imagine it's not going to be, is a repeat of what was that 3-0 about 15 years ago between these teams in that rainstorm I watched in college.
So true story here. I was in Dayton, Ohio working. A friend of mine, a fraternity brother of mine, called me. He's like, I got 2 tickets on the 50 in the club seats. I'm like, oh, and it was a storm. It was a rainstorm. I'm like, I was still working for the Art Institute of Pittsburgh. So I told my teacher, I said, I got to leave. And I made a beeline, because that game got delayed. That game started late because of the rainstorm. I remember
watching on TV. You couldn't see the game. You literally.
It was terrible.
I was not there, but
I caught the tail end of that storm getting in for that, but I was at that game. That was a pretty bad game.
I feel like we're going to get through the evening, and that's going to still go down as the most asinine Steelers-Dolphins game of all time. I don't think is going to overtake that one. Granted, when you have a game like this in these frigid temperatures, do you think the weather's going to impact this game at all? Even Aaron Rodgers' strategy. He's played in weather like this a lot. But if there's no running game for the Steelers in a game like this, is that going to be even a bigger deal?
No, and here's why. Because the wind is going to be less than 10 miles an hour. If the wind was whipping at 25, 30 miles an hour, and you've got single digits, problem, right? It's just cold. Right? It's just cold. Yeah. You got heaters, you got gloves, you got those, those things they have. They can put your hands in, all that stuff.
Yeah, Rodgers played in Lambeau, right?
Yeah, all that stuff, right? If it was 25 mile per hour winds, 30 mile per hour winds, single digits, I would say that you're going to have some issues for sure. But
you're going to turn around and hand the ball off and see somebody go 1.5 yards and be like,
do this. I'm not saying that they won't warm up to it or maybe get accustomed to it. That's why one of the reasons why Miami came in Saturday, right? They came into that storm. They went out to Robert Morris. They got a practice in the bad weather. Okay, now they can simulate the game type conditions potentially, right? Yeah. You know what I mean? You can't do that. So a friend of mine was like, "Oh, they can do that in South Florida the same." Like, no, they can't.
Not this weather.
You can't simulate 7 degrees and wind at 35. That's wind chill and snow. You can't do that.
You can simulate noise, which I don't know what the crowd's going to be like if they start out slow. Obviously, the Steelers fans have been a little agitated this year, but you can't simulate I mean,
Can't
you can throw
simulate
some
cold.
fake snow and not cold, unless you're going to really just throw a gust of cold air at you inside a
Right.
practice facility. I don't think that'll be the same thing. No, I mean, I do sometimes feel like the weather thing is a little overblown with the pros, because these guys it's not like they grew up in Florida and they're there for 20 years. They're just happen to play their home games there, so they have road games in cold weather locations. Played Cleveland this year, for example, even though it wasn't 7 degrees. But we'll see what the factor is for this one. And again, can the Steelers get a pass rush? Can they get a running game? Can Rodgers not make mistakes? And can Tomlin keep it clean in terms of calling this game? Those things are obviously the recipe for every game, but are more important in a game that's really a swing and could go either way. And obviously, it's a must-win game for the Steelers. It's obviously a must-win game for Miami. And I don't even know if weeks ago the NFL thought this would be a great game to have on Monday Night Football, but yet on December 15th in Monday Night Football, they're going to turn some ratings regardless of the brand. And this is actually a game that very much matters right now. And, we'll we'll see the result, but I don't think anyone's blown anybody out. I don't think anyone, I don't think there's any 20-point victory here. This could come down to Chris Boswell's leg, even.
Yeah, right. You're right. It could come down to
be one of those three field goal games. We've seen him have 6 field goals in a game before. We could see that again in this one.
Oh, geez, that was the Atlanta game to open the season last year. He had 2 of them last year.
He's had
did he
more.
not?
He's had more than one. I believe both last year. He might. Yeah, I think he's even had some 3 or 4. Like, he's had games where he's had to kick his butt off, and maybe that's happening again here. And the wind, I guess, not as much of an issue, so maybe that won't affect him either. If it was windy, that would be a thing too, even though you have an all-pro kicker. But this Dolphins team is something, man. I did not think much of them going into the year. I still didn't think much of them during the hot streak. I feel like they've been playing with house money and been beating some bad teams besides Buffalo. And I expect their luck to eventually run out just because they're not this good. And it is in Pittsburgh. But again, we will see. I wouldn't be surprised at all if the Steelers lay an egg there. And if they lay an egg after the Ravens won with those games coming up and having the win from recent weeks and finally getting people, maybe it was a week without people talking about Tomlin. I'm sure they love that. Right. If they end up losing and laying an egg here, they can only blame themselves for the conversation the next week and how this year has to end. But the division lead they had to open up the year, the situation that they've had in the division, how everything's fallen kind of in place for them in the division, and even controversially in a way, depending on your opinion, getting the win over the Ravens, they got to end up somehow winning this division and getting in the playoffs. And that's the only path. The wild card
is the only path. John Fetko is like, they can get a wild card. Nobody's coming out of this division in the wild card.
It's division title or bust. Yep.
Quick prediction, and then I will let you get to your evening, sir.
I'm going to go 23-20 Steelers. I think it's going to be one of those, kind of what I'm alluding to. Boswell maybe do it at the end, going to have to kick some field goals. It's going to be Steelers going to have to try the run game a lot, whether it works or not. We'll see how much the Dolphins can churn the clock, but I just think that someone's going to fumble, the Dolphins' luck's going to run out, and the Steelers are going to squeak by in this one, even if you're not really impressed with how they play. And it's just going to be one of those years where they're going to somehow squeak out a division title or squeak out a winning record again, because the division's so bad, and then we're going to have an off season of fans still kind of wanting a chain, but they're going to power through because, of course, the Rooney family, they're not making a chain with the division title. That's wanting to watch the Steeler world burn a little bit, but for tonight, I think they get this one over Miami because, again, I don't think that much of the Dolphins, and I think the Steelers can do enough for this one.
Okay. Mike Oste, managing editor, West Virginia Sports Now, part of the Pittsburgh Sports Now family of websites, national writer for Yard Barker, heard on Sirius XM, and Man About Town. Mike, I thank you.
You're welcome, man.
Man About Town.
Absolutely, I am a man about town, I guess. Have a great rest of your evening as well, and thank you for the promotion.
I'm in the lap of luxury here in Princeton, New Jersey, Mike.
I see that. One of my best friends is actually from there.
Really?
And hello to the haters, apparently, that you talk to on social media. So
that's right, and I'll defend you till the end, buddy. All right.
I appreciate it, man. Right back at you. All right.
Thanks, Mike. Mike Oste joining us for his weekly segment. Let's bring Bill Akins in. Hi, Bill.
Hello, John. Hi.
We're going to wrap up here in a few minutes. There's like almost 1,500 of you still hanging out right now on various social media platforms. Thank you for making us a part of your pregame coverage. This is Steel City Sunday. We are sponsored in part by Arch Masonry and Restoration. Arch Masonry and Restoration is hiring brick masons, block masons. They are hiring concrete finishers. They're hiring restoration people, labor help in Pittsburgh. If you're not working, if you're in one of those building trades and you're not working, Arch is. 412-564-5733 to learn more. ArchMasonryInc.com is their website. You can go check out their application there and the jobs that they have open. Great company. I have been working with Arch for more than a decade. They care about their employees. Great programs for people that just want to get into a career. Maybe you've been in construction for a little while and you're not working. You're like, okay, I really want to learn a trade. Well, they have programs that will teach you a building trade. You can learn on the job. 412-564-5733, archmasonryinc.com. Again, tomorrow, 7 o'clock, a couple of programming reminders as we are winding down our coverage of Steelers and Dolphins. Tomorrow at 7 p.m. right here on this channel at Steel City Sunday on X, YouTube, and Facebook. Live tomorrow, 7 o'clock, Pittsburgh Sports Tonight. You can check us out on all the social media sites. But there's our show for tomorrow. Mondays and Tuesdays at 7 o'clock, I am on the air for an hour each night. All of our social media sites can be found right there. Folks, if you're watching right now, if you're one of the nearly 1,500 people and you have not gone to our X page or our Facebook page or our YouTube channel, please go and like and subscribe. Follow us and make us a part of your pregame ritual. We normally have a postgame show, but with the late game tonight, no post-game show. But we'll have post-game shows the next 3 weeks. If they get into the playoffs, we'll certainly have post-game shows as well. But we're trying to add more content and programming to our channel here. In addition to my Monday and Tuesday show, on Wednesdays and Thursdays, Bill Akins, who is with me, executive producer, the reason why this show gets on the air every single week, basically the glue to my utter chaos. Bill hosts a show on Wednesdays at 8 o'clock called the Pittsburgh Sports Desk. That's at 8 o'clock. Sometimes I'm on there when he needs me. He's got a group of people that are regulars with him. And then on Thursdays at 8 o'clock, Gridiron Weekly. They talk all things football on that show. So those are shows that we have here in the Pittsburgh area. And, of course, It's a Wrap Sports is the network that works to put us on the air. Matty B and his crew out in Philadelphia. If you want to listen to anything Philadelphia related, Matty B's got it for you. The Final Word, he's on 5 nights a week at 9 o'clock. They have an Eagles pregame show. There's the Frenzy with Al. Birds Blast with Kyle Quinn. That's Thursdays at 7 o'clock. They have a Happy Valley show. There's a gambling show with Mike Loro. He hosts Props, Locks, and Parlays. He also hosts a Happy Valley Huddle show as well. If you're a Penn State person, that's It's a Wrap Sports. We can't get on the air without them. I talked to Matty B last week. Just a great guy and very supportive of us. They appreciate what we're doing for them and their network, and what we're trying to do is build some more Pittsburgh programming for people online. Any final thoughts, Bill, before we wrap this puppy up?
Well, I mean, my final thought is, Derek Harmon not playing, that changes everything. It changes everything. It makes me a little bit worried about this game. So, just saying, Devon A-Chain might have a field day tonight. So
I think he's going to have a big game tonight.
Yeah.
My concern now is that I'm looking at the weather. I don't think the wind's going to be a factor. And I think, when we have the football, we're going to have to maximize our opportunities. I don't know if we're going to be able to stop their running game.
Right.
It's a big concern now that Derek Harmon is not playing. Big concern.
Yeah, I had heard that he was maybe going to, they said that he was going to play. I mean, what I heard was that more than likely he was going to be in there just limited. But obviously in pregame and in warm-up, something, wasn't right, and they decided to to ixnay him for this game.
He cannot be in good shape. I mean, I would think that if he would move heaven and earth. One thing about these professional athletes, they want to play.
Right.
They want to play. If they just physically can't do it, it just doesn't make any sense to put him out there on the field. I'm okay with them holding him off if he's going to serve, if he's not going to serve anything to this team in terms of being an impact player, you have to keep him on the sideline. You cannot risk further injury. That's just the way it really goes. Okay, a final prediction from you, Bill Akins.
Well, I still think the Steelers are going to win. I'm going to go. Let's go. I'm going to go 13-9 Steelers.
You're going to say low scoring game.
Very low scoring game. Yep.
I'm saying 26-23 Dolphins.
Okay.
I just don't like these scenarios. I really don't. I don't. They're so unpredictable. I can't pick a winner. I'm picking Miami secretly because I want the Steelers to win. Because every time I pick the Steelers to win, they lose, and when I pick them to lose, they win. I'm concerned, and I don't even know if we're that close. It could be 26-20. It could be 26-16. The offense might take a powder tonight. We don't know. They give a couple of 3-and-outs, and Miami's able to put some long drives together, and it's 10-14-0. Now we're playing from behind. And now their defense has an opportunity to tee off potentially on Aaron Rodgers. We'll see how this all plays out. I'm saying 26-23 Dolphins. Okay. Want to thank everybody who's been still hanging out right now, listening to us. Thank you so much. We will be on the air at noon next Sunday. We are 4 hours prior to every Steelers kickoff. Every Steelers game, you can catch us at 4 hours prior to kickoff. Next Sunday at noon, we will be at North Park Lounge, Richland. I will be with Bill. I had to run to New Jersey for work. I'll be out here for the next couple of nights. Tomorrow night's show at 7 o'clock will emanate from this hotel room. Maybe it'll be another hotel room. I don't know. I don't know just yet. That's how crazy my day job is. But that's okay. I don't mind it. They pay me well, and no one else is going to pay me what I make elsewhere. I can tell you that. All right. Thanks to the entire cast and crew. Rob Pizzola from Bet Stamp for joining us on Consig's Picks. For Todd Haley, Paul Zeiss, Mike Oste. Want to thank Anthony Halkias, John Fedko, and Jerry DePaula joining us, and Bill Akins as well. My name is John Phillips. I'm the host of Steel City Sunday. Please, again, like and subscribe. Go to our social media sites. I can't beg you enough to please go follow us at Steel City Sunday. YouTube, Facebook, and X. That's where we broadcast all of our shows live. You can find content and programming there. I'll have a full recap. I'll have an opinion piece on our Facebook page tomorrow. I write opinion pieces on the Facebook page. You'll catch that tomorrow on the game. You'll be able to check that out. For the entire crew, I want to say thanks for checking us out. 3.5 hours of coverage is wrapping up now. This has been Steel City Sunday, and we are on the air every Steelers game, pre- and post-game. No post-game tonight, but we want to thank you for joining us on our pregame show this evening. We'll talk to you next Sunday, and I'll see you folks tomorrow at 7 o'clock on Pittsburgh Sports Tonight.